If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description. Additionally, if you would like to request novels and access my Google Drive where I have 200 plus audiobooks, then you can join my Patreon. Link is also provided in the description.
Chapter 41, Psychic Training. Hidden Village surrounded in the mist. After the event of evolution ended, all the Pokemon of Aoki and Misty started telling about their life and the outside world. Starmie, Clefairy, and Politoed were taken by the Slowking for training. Aoki and Misty began preparing the Pokeblock for the Pokemons there. Misty didn't know the process to make Pokeblocks, but she could hold Aoki in extracting the juices from berries. Some of the Pokemon there gathered a lot of berries that were directly edible or edible after some process. The Slowpoke that Aoki and Misty saved somehow grew fond of Misty after seeing that she had tamed a Gyarados. For the Slowpoke, a Gyarados was equal to a nightmare, and seeing a Gyarados listen to every command of Misty, she became his idol. Although the Gyarados was scary, what gave him primal fear were the three Pokemon that were always around Aoki, namely Charmeleon, Pidgeotto, and Weepinbell. These Pokemon were really angry with Slowpoke as they teleport their master against his will to an unfamiliar land where his safety was not guaranteed. After giving food to hundreds of Pokemon, which took about 5 to 6 hours of continuous work, Aoki began training his Pokemon. Everyone except Bagon and Clefairy started water training. Charmeleon had the most difficulty doing water training, but he knows that he can only become strong when faced with desperation. The only way to survive in water is by coating his body in dragon-type energy so that water cannot even touch his flames. Against the fight with Gyarados, he used his flames to evaporate the water of the surf attack because it was less in quantity, but it would be useless if someday he was made to fight in the water. Pidgeotto gets annoyed if there is water in her wings, but she has no problem fighting in water as she has trained under the gravity of Clefairy, which is many times difficult to this. Weepinbell and Nidorino don't have any problem in the water as their species are good at swimming even if they are not water-type Pokemon. After being fed and energy manipulation training, Bagon was ready for training. The evolution of Bagon would take a lot of time, so Aoki had a lot of time to train him as much he wanted. First, he put some weights on Bagon as Clefairy was not here to apply gravity. The first thing Aoki taught Bagon was how to swim, as he could learn some water-type moves, so he needs to get used to water-type energy. Currently, Bagon knew 4 moves, which were Ember, Leer, Bite, and Dragon Breath. With Dragon Breath being the first move he learned. Like all other Pokemon who were instructed to use some type of move as soon as they are called out, Bagon was told to use Leer as soon as he was called out. The next phase of training was Ember and Dragon Breath. He asked Bagon to release Ember and Dragon Breath while swimming in the water continuously. At the end of the training, Bagon could not take it anymore and fell asleep due to tiredness. It may sound cruel for a Pokemon born just a week ago to train so hard, but if Bagon wanted to grow into a strong Solamace, this was the minimum he could do. Dragon-type Pokemons are the most difficult Pokemon to raise because they need a lot of resources to cultivate, which most of the trainers can't afford. If not for the money he got from the League and Research Association for finding the evolutions, he had to search for another source of income. This is why a lot of trainers give up a few months after starting their journey and search for some other occupation. The current goal of Aoki is to win the Indigo Conference and open his own Pokemon food company. Currently, beating the Elite Four is out of the option, as he would need at least 3 elite-level Pokemon for that. The research paper on the evolution of Slowking and Politoed should earn him a good sum. For the next few days, Aoki started his investigation on Slowking and Politoed to write a research paper. The mornings would be spent making Pokeblocks for the tribe, while afternoon to evening training his Pokemon. Aoki had shared his wishes with his Pokemon, which made them more motivated to become strong. Aoki had explored the island quite a bit. The oceans are owned by Shelder, the coast and mainland by Slowpoke, and the mountains by Poliwag. All 3 communities help each other with food. The island was quite large, so there were fields where the Slowking planted crops after copying from humans. The ocean outside the island also had various communities like Magikarp, Seeking, Horsa, Gyarados, etc. Due to training in the damp weather, Nidorino now had good control over Water Pulse and Ice Beam. Pidgeotto had learned to use Hyper Beam properly, but the time required to charge and condense the beam was taking very long, which has to be reduced. Charmeleon can now use Fire Blast and Flare Blitz to a satisfactory level to a basic level, but suffered the same problem as Pidgeotto, which was a long time to charge. The most improvement was shown by Bagon, who along with his moves somehow mastered Rain Dance after seeing the Politoeds. His mastery over Dragon-type energy was many times better than Charmander when Aoki started training him. It was the 4th day that Aoki and Misty decided to leave the island. Clefairy and Starmie gave them a pleasant surprise by learning telepathy. Now I can talk to master as much I like, he said Clefairy with a cute voice inside Aoki's head. Now you have to reward me with more tasty food. Yes, I will give you whatever you want, said Aoki. Yay, master is the best. Seeing that Clefairy could now talk to Aoki freely made his other Pokemon jealous. Clefairy knew about what her friends were thinking, so she promised that she would try to create a mental link among everyone to talk freely with Aoki. Misty's Starmie and Politoed had huge improvements too. What came as a final gift for Misty was Slowpoke that she saved, now willing to become her Pokemon and travel the world. Over the days Slowking had assessed Misty and deemed her worthy to take care of Slowpoke. Aoki and Misty bid farewell to everyone as Slowking teleported them to the coast from where they came. Chapter 42, The Lighthouse. Aoki and Misty found themselves at the same place from where they were teleported. The accuracy of teleportation of both the Slowking and Slowpoke was astronomical. Every species of my kind has the teleport marker ingrained in our minds, Misty. The Slowpoke said with telepathy. While Aoki's Clefairy called him master, Slowpoke referred to his trainer with her name, which Misty didn't seem to mind. Aoki took out his Pokédex and to his relief found that the GPS was now working properly. He messaged Professor Oak about his new findings. To which Oak replied that Aoki can meet him if he reaches Bill's lighthouse, as he will be there for some work. Although Bill had many labs across the region, he spends most of his time in the lighthouse for research. Bill was another well-known researcher who was famous for the Pokeball and item transfer system. It was similar to the Move Teleport but only for items. If two devices he made were linked together, no matter what the distance, Pokeballs or other items can be transferred. These devices can only be found in Pokemon centers and research labs due to the huge size of the machine. This device can also be referred to as a PC in the Pokemon games. Unlike the anime where a trainer can only carry 6 Pokemons, there are no such rules in real life, but the maximum number of Pokemon usable in an official match is 6. Trains don't usually have the capability to take care of 6 Pokemon together, so they make contracts with different associations or Pokemon centers to take care of the Pokemon the trainers are not using. Aoki has a contract with Professor Oak's lab while Misty has with Cerulean Gym. Every gym has caretakers appointed by the league to take care of Pokemon for the gym leader, gym apprentices, or some high-ranking members. Aoki told Misty about the conversation and they started moving towards the lighthouse, which they would reach by nightfall if things went smoothly. As he was looking through the rest of the messages, he got a message from Brock that Ash had won the Cascade Badge after his 3rd try and would start their journey to Vermilion City tomorrow. The battle was against Misty's sisters, that's why Ash won, or else Aoki was sure that he could not pass David's Gyarados. Seems like Ash doesn't have the same luck that he had in the anime. 2 weeks ago Aoki had received a message from Brock that he had started his journey with 2 trainers named Ash and Daisy. Aoki was surprised to hear granddaughter of Professor Oak was traveling with them. Brock had told that Ash defeated him on his 3rd try in the gym. He could not get past even his Guedud in the first 2 times. I wonder how this version of Ash will turn out. Aoki continued his journey towards the lighthouse while having Bagon fight all the wild Pokemon he could see. His other Pokemon were too strong for Bagon, so he made Bagon gain experience from wild Pokemon. Misty had Slowpoke out, who was floating beside her with psychic energy. The wild Pokemon were mostly in the intermediate ranks due to the availability of high resources in this region. There were a lot of Krabi in this region, which served as a delicious crab soup for everyone. Due to constant battling for hours, Bagon had learned 2 new moves, which were Focus Energy and Headbutt. Focus Energy was learned due to the constant use of the Calm Mind technique developed by Aoki. This technique was a combination of meditation, focus, and breathing exercises which Aoki tried to enhance every day. This method showed a tremendous increase in the focus and battle strength of Pokemon. Aoki was both surprised and suspicious by the level of growth of Bagon. In the evening, the sky, which was clear a few seconds ago, started getting darker all of a sudden, so Misty and Aoki took out their bicycle for going fast. By the time they reached the lighthouse, it was already midnight and they had to stop multiple times because the dark sky gave rise to a rainstorm. Although due to the dark clouds everything was nearly enveloped in darkness, the lighthouse was visible. Aoki and Misty reached near the lighthouse and were amazed by the size and designs of the door. The door was made from gold, which had corroded but still had some luster, but the main point was the carvings of various Pokemons on the door. The most striking carving was of the 3 legendary birds of Kanto, which were Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno. Aoki clicked on the doorbell which was beside the door and a sound came from a mic beside it. "Are you two perhaps Professor Gunhildr and Misty?" "Yes," answered Aoki. Bill was one of the few people that knew his identity. "Please come inside." As soon as he answered, the giant door opened for them to go inside. The lights inside the lighthouse were on, which displayed various pictures that seemed like as if taken from the lighthouse. One picture was the evolution of a group of Magikarps into Gyarados, while the other was the fight between two Pidgeot. In one of the pictures was Professor Oak with a 16-year-old Bill who was holding a Growlithe in his arms. The next picture was when Bill with his Arcanine beside the transfer machine. Aoki was sure that was Bill because when he announced the transfer system, his picture was circulated all over the region in newspapers, news, and even textbooks. This happened 3 years ago when Bill was only 23 years old. Apart from creating the transfer system, he was also famous for publishing many research papers on prehistoric Pokémon. While moving inside the lighthouse, Aoki and Misty came across a horrifying scene. They found the bleeding body of Professor Bill on the floor while Kabuto was licking his blood. Misty's face paled seeing the scene. She had seen dead bodies before, but this time was different, as just a moment ago they heard the voice of Bill. "Stop panicking, Misty. Looks carefully, that's sauce, not blood," said Aoki. Growl. Came a sound from the stomach of Bill as he said with a zombie-like voice. Food. Chapter 43, Professor Bill and Visit from Oak. Aoki took out some sandwiches and stuffed them into Bill's mouth along with some water so that they wouldn't get stuck in his throat. Although the Kabuto that was licking the sauce on the ground seemed healthy, Aoki decided to feed it too. "Seems like he fell down from intense hunger and broke the bottle of sauce," said Misty after looking around. Misty first creeped out seeing Kabuto as she thought it was a bug Pokemon, but Aoki reminded her that it was a water/rock. "I think I told you to memorize all the Pokemon of Kanto region, Misty," said Aoki. "Sorry, totally forgot about it, I will do it later." Misty absolutely hated studying. Many times Aoki had to drill some information into her. The place they were standing was a small kitchen with unwashed dishes in the sink for who knows how long. There were packets of instant food stuffed in one corner of the room. Asterisk. It was after 30 minutes that Bill woke up. He changed his dirty clothes and came to talk with Aoki and Misty in another room. Bill had brown messy hair and dark circles under his eyes as if not slept for days. "Thank you for saving me. I thought I would die of hunger for a second," said embarrassed Bill. "How did you reach that condition anyway?" asked Aoki. "You see, I found an interesting research topic, so I was busy studying it for the last 2 days, forgetting everything. Usually, my assistant helps with my food and health, but he is on a vacation. This morning Professor Oak contacted me and told me that Professor Gunhilder would be visiting me. I knew about your identity from him, so I wanted to meet a trainer that beat the first 2 official gyms on the first try. As I am always busy with my research, I forget to clean my place. I decided to clean this place to make it a bit presentable, but I fell unconscious due to hunger when I went to clean the kitchen." Misty and Aoki were dumbfounded by this guy's focus and commitment. "So what interesting thing you found out?" asked Bill. "Not today. I am making dinner, and after eating take some rest. It feels like you didn't sleep for days." "We can talk tomorrow," said Aoki. "Yes, Mr. Bill, if you continue this your health will deteriorate very much," said concerned Misty. Bill reluctantly agreed with the proposition of Aoki and Misty. Aoki prepared a healthy dinner for everyone while Misty made some side dishes after learning from Aoki. It turns out that Misty was better at making desserts than normal food. Aoki and Misty fed their Pokemon too. She left her Pokemon in the water as they requested. Fortunately, the lighthouse had an extra room for them to sleep. The next morning Aoki woke up early and prepared breakfast for everyone. He didn't get to test how much Clefairy had improved, so he conducted mock battles as usual. Apart from a huge improvement in gravity and psychic control, she had finally learned Misty Terrain, a second fairy-type move after disarming voice. Due to the combination of Mimic and Copycat, she had learned Flamethrower too. Sometimes Aoki felt like having Clefairy was a cheat code. She had gotten a lot better at Metronome too, which although let her use the random move, she could now minimize the range of moves that were needed for the moment. For example, if she was dealing with a Grass-type Pokemon, the Metronome would give her a move that was either Fire, Psychic or Flying type. Metronome depended upon the feelings and internet of the user, so Clefairy learned to manipulate her emotions while thinking various things to get Metronome right. But making the Metronome right was insanely difficult. Weepabell was training in controlling Solar Beam, Pidgeotto in Hyper Beam, and Chameleon Rage Control. Aoki noticed that his top 3 Pokemons had reached the peak of intermediate rank. Their growth would stagnate for a long time or forever if they don't extra hard to break through this period. He decided to double their already hard training while increasing the difficulty of others. Bagon was having difficulty keeping up, but his prideful dragon bloodline had started acting up, which made him hold his ground. Aoki had told Bagon various stories about dragon Pokemon, so Bagon had made his goal to reach that level one day and become the Emperor of the Sky. Aoki had read that Bagon as a species had an innate wish to fly, which makes them grow wings in their final stage, and his Bagon was the same. He had noticed that Bagon watched Pidgeotto with eyes of jealousy for having wings but never asked to get a ride, as he doesn't want to fly unless it was with his own wings. Bill, who woke up after a healthy sleep, watched Aoki and his Pokemon train. Truly outstanding, he deserves Professor Oak's recognition. He noticed that all his Pokemon were larger than normal and incredibly healthy. Bill had never expected Aoki to have a Clefairy and a Bagon, which he only saw a few times over the years. Gave his Pokemon a break and came back to the lighthouse. As Aoki was going through some of the pictures in the lighthouse, he saw a large photo that made him very interested. In the picture was a young Bill holding an egg along with Professor Oak. Beside him were two young men. One with intimidating eyes and a complete red attire. Behind him stood a large Charizard. The second person had spiky brown hair and an arrogant smile with a Blastoise behind him. Misty saw Aoki staring at the photo and asked Bill who were the people in the photo. That's a very memorable picture taken years ago. Leaving me and Professor Oak aside, the other people are red and blue with their ace Pokemons. Bill said. What? Do those two really exist? I thought that those were just fables. I understand where you are coming from, as they didn't appear in the public after becoming the champion. Did anything special happen during the time the picture was taken? Aoki asked. Yes, that was the day Red had completed the first Pokédex prototype, which had 149 Pokemons. Bill said. Awesome, someone had actually done it. So he caught the 3 legendary birds too, right? Misty asked. Yes, he did catch them but released them soon after, as he didn't need them. I still remember how pissed off Blue was seeing Red do that before him. So where are they now? There is no record of them after the Pokemon League champion thing, Aoki asked. Even I don't know where they are right now, but I can say that they are still around and safe, Bill said. Aoki understood what Bill was implying. Both Red and Blue were alive and doing well, but he cannot disclose their location. In the after, Professor Oak teleported to the lighthouse with his elite level Alakazam. For most people of Kanto, meeting Professor Oak was a dream come true. So Aoki, what did you find? Said Oak. Tell us fast, I can't wait any longer, said Bill. Aoki turned towards Misty and asked her to release her Politoed. A green 1.2 m tall frog Pokemon appeared in front of Oak and Bill. Meet Politoed, the second evolution of Poliwhirl. The expression of shock appeared on their faces, followed by amazement. He gave the research paper about the characteristics, nature, and movesets of Politoed. Misty was more familiar with Politoed, so she explained the rest. For the next part, I need a monitor. Wait for a minute, I have one in my room, said Bill. After 5 minutes, Bill brought a monitor to which Aoki connected his Pokédex and turned on the footage captured on the island. If the revelation of Politoed was not enough, the scene between Slowking and Politoed made both of them dumbfounded. Aoki now handed them the research paper on Slowking and let the two researchers discuss it while he picked up the paper on Kabuto. The paper on Kabuto was written by Bill recently regarding its structure and abilities. The process of converting fossils into real Pokemon was relatively new, so people knew very little about prehistoric Pokemon. Until now, only 3 prehistoric Pokemons were discovered in the Kanto region, which were Aerodactyl, Kabuto, Omenet, and their evolutions. In Hone, there were Enrorath and Liliup. In Sinnoh, there were Craniodos and Shieldon. In Unova, there were Archon and Turtuga. In Kalos, there were Tyrant and Amora. One of the theories is that prehistoric Pokemon still live underground and can be found if dug very deep. This was rumors that a group of alive Kabuto and an Aerodactyl were found in a deep underground mine. While Aoki was going through some of Bill's notes, Misty explained the whole story regarding the Slowpoke incident. Oak and Bill listened very carefully, not missing any details, as not every day you get to hear about an unknown island and Pokemon. Truly unexpected, said Professor Oak. He couldn't wait to try the evolution experiment on his Pokemon. Of course, he will not be taking the credit and will give it to Aoki. If the evolution of Eevee was a collaboration between Aoki and Oak, this time all the credit would go to Aoki for bringing him this wonderful thing. Although it was Captain Jack who can be said to be the original discoverer, Aoki brought that to light so his name would be written as the discovery. Oak asked for a copy of the video with a watermark of Professor Gunhildr and promised not to disclose it. It was decided that after Professor Oak evolves a Slowking and a Politoed, Aoki would publish the paper on the evolution along with the process of evolution. Professor Oak thought for a while and said, Aoki, I have an offer for you. I have read all of the papers that you have sent me and I found those very interesting. Generally, people at the Alliance will ignore those as they made up, but after doing some experiments I found all of them were true. For your papers to be published for researchers and the public to view, you need someone to verify them as true, which is very difficult with the resources you have with you. I am willing to try out all the hypotheses you have and give my approval so that it can be published directly. Bill was not too surprised to hear that Professor was doing this for Aoki. He too was a nobody who Professor Oak helped to rise to the place he was in because he took an interest in him. Why are you doing this for me, Professor? Aoki asked as the offer was too generous. You possess the talent of being both an excellent trainer and a researcher. Nowadays, the craze of becoming a researcher among the youth is very less compared to other professions. By promoting youth like you, people will get inspiration to pursue this career. I want you to write research notes on every interesting Pokemon you see from your perspective and share them with me first before sending them to Researcher Alliance. Aoki thought for a while and agreed with the deal. Misty was truly glad that Aoki got the offer from the professor. She knew some of the things about the Researcher Alliance from Aoki and how difficult it was to get one's paper published. Aoki discussed with the professor a plan to stock a lot of King's rocks and sell them at a higher price after announcing the evolution. Although Oak was buying those rocks with his own money, he decided to give 30% of the total profit to Aoki for the idea and finding of the evolution. After the deal was done, Oak turned toward Bill and asked, So Bill, what was the thing you were so excited to tell me about? Have you ever seen a gigantic Pokemon taller than the lighthouse? Bill dropped the bomb. Chapter 44, Giant Pokemon. Pokemon taller than the lighthouse? Oak was confused. From the stack of papers, Bill took out a picture which was of two glowing eyes of a large shadow. Bill told me that a few days ago when he was researching ancient Pokemon, there was a thunderstorm. During that night he found a giant shadow with glowing eyes near his tower. Bill had never seen such a large Pokemon before. The strength of a Pokemon can be assessed based on the energy they release subconsciously, but when Pokemon reach a certain mastery over their energy, they stop releasing their energy, making it difficult to find out the strength. The giant Pokemon was similar in such aspects too, so Bill could not assess its strength, but based on the size of the Pokemon, even if it was junior rank, the destruction caused would be huge. The Pokemon released a cry before disappearing. Bill had recorded the sound and tried to translate it. The cry said that the Pokemon was lonely and tried to find a companion. Bill kept comparing the sound frequency to different Pokemon and finally found that it matched with a dragon Pokemon. After some more matching, it was found that it belonged to a Dragonite. Bill intended to call this Pokemon near his lighthouse, so he asked for the professor's help. Professor Oak heard the recording of the cry and it was indeed similar to Dragonite. Isn't that Dynamax Dragonite, thought Aoki. In the current timeline, for some reason, Dynamax is not a thing even after the Galar region is known. Maybe something happens in the future that started the Dynamax thing. Z-moves of Alola is a thing, but Mega Evolution has not been discovered yet. Currently, Kalos and Unova are the most advanced while Alola is the most backward in terms of development. Aoki decided not to reveal anything about Dynamax. Even if he told them, he had no means to explain the concept of Dynamax. Moreover, he remembered that Dynamax was a temporary boost in size, but the size of the Dragonite seemed to be permanent. Giant Dragonite, is it a royal gene species or some mutation? Is it really a Dragonite or some unknown legendary? Oak wondered. It was decided that Oak's Dragonite would release a cry and try if he could attract the attention of the giant Dragonite. There was still time for nightfall, so Aoki made a request to Professor Oak asking for his Dragonite for a few hours, which Oak agreed. Aoki went a little far from the lighthouse and released Dragonite. A 2.3 m tall Dragonite appeared in front of Aoki. Remember me, Dragonite? We met a few days ago. Dra nodded. Dragonite. You see, I need your help with something. Can you teach my partners the move Dragon Dance? Dragonite made some low growls which Aoki asked Clefairy to translate. Dragonoid wants some delicious treats made by a master in exchange for teaching Dragon Dance, said Clefairy. Aoki agreed to Dragonite's proposition and gave him some food as advanced payment. Dragon Dance is a move that boosts the power of Dragon-type moves, attacks and speed of a Pokemon having a Dragon bloodline. This dance varied from Pokemon to Pokemon and species to species. What Aoki wanted was the general form. Aoki called out Charmeleon and Bagon, told them to copy the Dragon Dance of Dragonite as much as they could and start to figure out the mechanism. This move was not something that can be done in one day. He asked Clefairy to copy it with a combination of mimic and copycat, as she liked dancing while instead of dragon-type energy, using psychic energy. Dragonite, please start. Dragonite rotated his body and made a short dance in a specific pattern. Please release your energy restraints a bit and repeat it again. This time Aoki tried to see if he could trace the movement of the dragon-type energy traveling within Dragonite and achieved some success. Clefairy could instantly do the dance, but she did not receive any boost from it. But it was a good step, as even if Charmeleon and Bagon didn't learn it today, they can be taught with the help of Clefairy. Aoki released Weepin' Bell, Pidgeotto and Nidorino from their Pokeball and asked them to do the same too. Something may come out of it. Aoki too started doing the dragon dance in order to help his Pokemon learn better. He tried various combinations to see which would suit Bagon and Charmeleon the most. Misty, Oak, and Bill watched Aoki and the Pokemons do a weird dance in front of the lighthouse. What is this even doing, thought Misty. What do you think he is trying to do, Professor? Asked Bill. I think he is trying to teach his Pokemon dragon dance. Did you notice his abnormal Clefairy too, right, Bill? I haven't seen a single Pokemon who is so proficient in copycat or mimic yet, said Bill. All of his Pokemons are abnormal, Oak said. Back to Aoki. Now that we know the basics of dragon dance, he can be developed later now. For another important matter. Dragonite, release your energy restraints and unleash your aura. As soon as he saw that, a wave of dense dragon energy spread all around, making everything quiet near him. Not a single sound could be heard from anywhere. Aoki could feel the color of the area around him changing into a purple tint. Every wild Pokemon, regardless in the water, land, or air, became silent, as their primal instinct told if they move, they die. Even the strong waves of the sea became weak. Misty dropped to the floor from mental pain while Bill began heavily panting, but Oak stood still and watched Aoki stand firm without any problem. Alakazam, protect them, Oak ordered. Truly miraculous. Although Aoki was standing without any problem in the champion level pressure for some reason, but for his Pokemons the same thing could not be said. All of their eyes became bloodshot, especially Charmeleon and Bagon kneeled on the ground. Clefairy was not so good to even with her fairy-type nature. They felt their head almost getting burst as their instincts stopped working completely. It meant that they can do nothing except accepting death. Simply being subjected to a bit of pressure can make you all lose. Imprint this feeling of weakness into your minds, all of you. Aoki looked at all his Pokemons, especially Charmeleon and Bagon. This is the aura a true dragon shall have. This feeling of weakness, helplessness, the feeling of being at the bottom of the food chain, the feeling of being prey standing in front of a predator. This is where we stand right now in the world, an ant that can be crushed any time by ones at the top. Standing before you is the power level we all have to reach in the future. If you all want to survive, win and become a powerhouse stronger than Dragonite, keep working hand while burning in the flame of determination. Giving up is not an option. The Dragonite looked at Aoki with a bit of amusement, as he has heard a lot of trainers proclaim the same thing, but not a single one has ever come close to him. Asterisk. With an hour of rest, his Pokemons were ready to train with more determination. Misty was a little upset about the stunt Aoki pulled, as it could have caused harm to himself, but she never expressed it, as Aoki did it for the good of his Pokemons. I am truly weak, isn't it? Misty thought, as everyone except her was still standing. Aoki let Dragonite go to Professor Oak and prepare for the event, while Aoki trained Charmeleon and Bagon more in Dragon Dance. Charmeleon could do it perfectly due to his massive mastery over Dragon-type energy, but Bagon was having difficulty doing it because of his less control. Clefairy liked Dragon Dance the most, even though she didn't get any major boost due to lack of Dragon bloodline, she got a dance to her collection. Moves like Work Up and Swords Dance showed a maximum effect in normal-type moves. Similarly, Dragon Dance, in addition to increasing attack and speed of all moves, gave a boost to Dragon-type moves. Dragon Dance had a major flaw in that it took a lot of stamina, so Aoki decided to combine Work Up, Swords Dance, and Dragon Dance to create a move that would take less stamina and give more boost in power. Asterisk. In the night, everyone was ready for calling the giant Dragonite. Professor, are you sure that calling a giant Pokemon here would be safe? What if it becomes aggressive and tries to attack us? Misty asked. Don't worry about it, child. In case things go in an unexpected direction, I can keep all escape safely with Alakazam. Oak reassured Misty. Misty had seen the blurry picture of the Dragonite and it honestly looked very dangerous. Politoed and Gyarados used Rain Dance, Starmie and Clefairy used Thunderbolt into the air, and lastly, Dragonite released a friendly cry into the which traveled a large distance. Let me make the storm more intense, Bill said, taking out a pokeball. Come out Lapras, use rain dance. Lop. A master-level Lapras came out of the pokeball and used rain dance. Aoki and Misty were surprised to see a Lapras. These Pokémons are very few in number and once were declared endangered species in the past. These Pokémons move constantly and only stop during their mating season. Misty stopped herself from asking questions about the Pokémon as something important was going on. Will the Pokémon arrive or do some requirements need to be fulfilled? Oak wondered. Dragonite use roar, but instead of provocation use the tone of invitation, Oak commanded. Dra-a-a. Alakazam created a barrier around everyone to protect their ears from the terrifying roar of Dragonite. The storm continued and after about 20 minutes, a device Bill had shown signs of mini earthquakes happening. Something is happening, Aoki noticed. The water became more turbulent as the sea level started rising. The dense fog started to appear out of nowhere, lowering the visibility. From the far distance, two glowing eyes could be visible coming towards the lighthouse, sending a chill to everyone's spine. The air became very heavy and almost unbearable for Misty, Bill, and other Pokémons. Fortunately, Alakazam was there to protect them. Bill took out a Pokeball from his pocket and released the Pokémon in it. Arcanine, use your energy around me, Bill ordered. It was a large elite-level Arcanine, Bill's starter. Howl! Charmeleon, Bagon, Gyarados, and Dragonite could feel the immense Dragon-type energy coming from the giant Pokémon. As the Pokémon grew closer, it was clear that it was a Dragonite. With every step causing a tremor, the giant Dragonoid moved closer. A musical cry reached everyone's ears, filling everyone with a strange calmness. Everyone was dumbfounded after seeing such a large Pokémon in front of their eyes. Bill wanted to ask what are you but could not speak. The Pokémon was not so different from normal Dragonite, but his glowing eyes were different from normal Dragonite. He had a lot of small scars on his body that looked very old. The giant Dragonite and Oak's Dragonite started communicating while no one disturbed them. The giant Dragonite looked at Bill and the others and made another melodious sound and finally made eye contact with Aoki and stared at him for a few seconds. While all the humans were confused as to what was happening, Oak's Dragonite could tell that the giant Pokémon somehow became cheerful seeing the human. The giant Dragonite leaned towards Bagon and touched his head with his snout, which made Bagon glow for a few seconds. The Dragonite opened its mouth and dropped a fang-like thing near the feet of Bagon and gave her face a lick. Aoki and the others were confused as to what happened, but they dare not make a move. The Dragonite made another sound and started going back into the ocean. Wait! Please don't leave! I want to talk to you! Bill shouted, but Dragonite didn't stop. Can I meet you again? Shouted Bill. The giant Dragonite made another melodious song as if telling that they would meet again. Asterisk. Author note. I had some free time, so I wrote a chapter. Regarding the thing going on with web novel, suggest websites where I can publish my work. Chapter 45, Vermilion City. After the giant Dragonite left, Oak asked his Dragonite what conversation did he have. According to Dragonite, the giant Dragonite was in a long slumber. After waking up he found that all of his companions were gone and he was alone. That is why he searched for someone, as he was lonely. The giant Dragonite said that Oak's Dragonite and Bagon reminded him of his companions, so he gave Bagon a gift as he was young. Aoki was first confused about the thing Dragonite did with Bagon, but he was relieved after hearing Oak's Dragonite's reply. Dragonite didn't bring up the fact that the giant Pokémon gave a different reaction to seeing Aoki. Aoki looked towards the object that was dropped, which he recognized as a large piece of dragon fang overflowing with dense dragon energy. Aoki decided to let Bagon absorb the energy from the dragon fang over time. Due to Clefairy translating for him, Aoki got to know that the total energy reserves of Bagon had almost doubled. Bagon told that he has information about a move but cannot do it as it requires a massive amount of dragon-type energy. Aoki thought for a few seconds and made a conclusion that the move must have been Draco Meteor or Outrage, as both are very strong dragon-type move that requires a large amount of dragon-type energy. Bagon whispered something to Clefairy, who spoke inside Aoki's mind. Master, the giant Pokémon left a message for you. Soon there would be a day where we shall fight alongside each other. That's an awfully strange message. Did I remind him of someone from the past, or is there some other reason? Aoki wondered, but there were no clues that could lead him to an answer. I remember Ho-Oh gave Ash a rainbow wing as a token to challenge him. Is it similar? No, Dragonite said. Battle alongside him, not against him. Sigh, whatever, it's no use thinking. All of them entered back to the lighthouse to make a record of everything they saw. I have a theory, Professor Oak, said Aoki. I call it the hollow Earth theory. I believe that the interior of our planet is hollow where prehistoric Pokemon and species like giant Dragonite live freely. The energy on the surface is not enough to let a Pokemon get to that size, and if more Pokemon like Dragonite existed, we would be aware as such a large Pokemon will cause a food shortage. The place the Dragonite was resting must be similar to the hollow Earth I told about. There is a large amount of energy to support his size. Interesting, I never thought of that. How did you reach that conclusion? Aoki asked Oak. You must have read the reports of signs of prehistoric Pokemon living underground. I thought that what if there were a lot of channels that connected to the surface and the hollow Earth where the prehistoric Pokemon lived freely. The place from where the Pokemon was found must be one of those tunnels. Your theory makes a lot of sense. I will try to investigate his matter. If what you said comes true, this thing cannot be revealed to the outside world at any cost, said Oak. The theory came to Aoki from another fact that this version of Earth was at least 10 times larger than his previous life, so there are more chances of his theory being true. There was another reason for me claiming that there is a very strong energy source. Remember the weapon of the Kalos region that was made by a kingdom 3,000 years ago? That weapon that was rumored to be able to destroy the entire region? I had gone to see the weapon years back but didn't find anything noteworthy except it having a fancy design. It didn't react to any type of energy. Oak said. What if that kingdom found a way to harness that power and used it to create the weapon? The last record of the kingdom said that it had faced a calamity and was on the verge of getting destroyed. What if it was nature's way of telling us that we should not take that step? Aoki said. You mean to say is we can find and research about the energy but never try to use it, right? Bill asked. Yes, I mean the same. Don't worry Aoki, I would never reveal today's meeting to the outside world. Today we saw one Titan, what if there are multiple Titans and somehow we anger them with our curiosity? These Titans have the power to flatten the world and would be best unprovoked. Oak said. Aoki, Oak, and Bill discussed a lot that night. The next morning Aoki and Misty decided to continue their journey toward Vermilion City while Oak decided to stay in the lighthouse for a while. The battle for the Thunder Badge would be very difficult. Did you think of any strategy for Misty? Asked Aoki. I was thinking about skipping this gym. I heard that the ace of the gym leader is a Reishu and ends every battle with one move. Gyarados is too big and would not be able to dodge the attacks. Slowpoke is weak while Azumarill doesn't have a very good moveset. Only Staryu and Starmie stand a chance. Aoki Lieutenant Surge turned out to be the same as the anime, then Misty had no chance against that monster of a Reishu. The only option was to outspeed Reishu. Note that if things were the same as anime, you should at least try the gym battle. You can strategize after seeing my match, said Aoki. That sounds good. Well, that reminds me you have been very busy with training. Take some time off and let your Pokemon take some rest too. You always take me care of, so let me take care of you for once. It was true that did overwork himself over the past week. From cooking a large amount of food to researching ways to improve his Pokemon and new strategies. Apart from training, he also has to improve the quality of his food every day to maximize the energy gained from it. Although not like Bill, Aoki has some marks under his eyes. The recent upgrade to Bagon's Dragon Energy has also increased the need for nutritious food and suitable training. Just like people said, raising a Dragon-type Pokemon is the hardest of all Pokemon. Aoki and Misty finally reached Vermilion City after a journey of 15 days since Cerulean City. The city was like the other cities, themed on the color of the gym badge, which was yellow. There were a lot of buildings related to tourism and business due to this city being the main center of overseas trade. Many people could be seen on the road carrying cargo and goods. This city was mostly filled with businessmen and workers than normal workers. Total inhabitants were around the same as Cerulean City. Cerulean and Pewter City had a strange calmness, but this city felt more alive as a lot of people were on the roads. There was always some sort of noise, be it horns from cars or vendors selling something. Due to this, the market of this city was large too, which sold everything from Pokemon to portions. As the crime rate will increase due to all these factors, more people from the police force were stationed at different places in the large city. Same as always, Misty booked a hotel for them to stay in. Aoki now had some money to spare, so he decided to go on a shopping spree with Misty. First of all, they bought new clothes and shoes, then some portions and full heels. Aoki looked at the TMS, but all of them seemed overpriced to Aoki, so decided to buy them from the Researcher Alliance. Misty went back to the hotel while Aoki visited the Researcher Alliance. There he found that his order for King's Rock was ready. He browsed through the TMS and brought 2 TMS for a brick break for Bagon and Chameleon, finally dig for Nidorino. Clefairy could copy Brick Break from them with the combination of Mimic and Copycat. Aoki went to the Pokemon Center and fixed a date for his gym battle after 3 days. As expected, the gym was full of worried trainers that got thrashed by LT Surge. All of them called Surge a demon or monster for not showing mercy. Aoki looked at the injuries of the Pokemon and found that Pokemons were injured to a degree that they would recover only after 3 to 4 days. None of the Pokemon had injuries that would have a lasting effect or cause problems later on. Every official gym in the Kanto region was to teach trainers a lesson. The Pewter Gym was to show the reality of gym battles. The Cerulean Gym was to teach trainers to fight in an unfavorable environment. And finally, Vermilion Gym was to teach trainers when to give up. If the trainers of the injured Pokemon stopped the match beforehand, their Pokemon wouldn't have suffered. Aoki investigated more about the gym from Nurse Joy. He got to know that Lieutenant Surge has a total of 6 Pokemon registered for gym matches, out of which he mainly uses 3 Pokemon depending upon his mood. They are Pikachu, Electrode, Magnemite, Magneton, Electabuzz, and finally Raichu. Out of the 3, Raichu is the strongest, followed by Electabuzz. Surge never revealed his elite stage Pokemon as he never found any trainer worthy to face against his ace. Aoki had that LT Surge may give one-on-one matches to trainers who are trying again, and managed to defeat his 2 Pokemon and lost to his last Pokemon earlier. The information that surprised him most was that the last time the Thunder Badge was given to someone on their first try was 2 years ago. After that, no trainer has managed to defeat him yet on his first try. Time to become that trainer this year. I have started to upload in Scribble Hub too. Type Pokemon, Aura of Darkness to find the book there. Chapter 46, Aoki vs Surge 1. Author note. Seems like the issue going on has been resolved. Aoki had decided to use Bagon, Clefairy, and Nidorino for the match. Although Bagon is at the beginning of the intermediate stage, the power level of an intermediate stage dragon Pokemon cannot be underestimated. Bagon had stepped into the intermediate stage due to the boost received from the Dragonite, or else it would take more time. In terms of potential and comprehension speed, Bagon surpassed all the Pokemon of Aoki. He could tell beforehand that his final evolution would be a disaster. It was not that Aoki was underestimating Surge, but he was confident in defeating him with the Pokemon he chose. This was the current Pokédex entry of Bagon. Name, Bagon. Type, Dragon. Species, Rockhead Pokemon. Gender, Male. Ability, Rockhead. Stage, Intermediate. Moves, Ember, Leer, Bite, Dragon Breath, Dragon Claw, Ember Fire, Fang, Protect, Dragon Dance, Headbutt, Zen, Headbutt, Rain Dance, Brick Break, Rock Tomb, Dragon Rage. Pokédex entry, Bagon harbors a never-ending dream of one day soaring high among the clouds. As if trying to dispel its frustration over its inability to fly, this Pokemon slams its hard head against huge rocks and shatters them into pebbles. The average height of a Bagon is around 0.6 m, but Aoki's Bagon had grown to 0.8 m. For Nidorino. Name, Nidorino. Type, Poison. Species, Poison Pin Pokemon. Gender, Male. Ability, Poison Point, Rivalry. Stage, Intermediate. Moves, Leer, Poison Sting, Peck, Focus Energy, Fury Swipes, Toxic Spikes, Double Kick, Counter, Water Pulse, Protect, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Horn Attack, Surge Bomb, Thrash, Poison Tail, Disable, Fury Attack, Dig, Iron Tail, Poison Jab. Pokédex entry, Nidorino has a horn that is harder than a diamond. If it senses a hostile presence, all the barbs on its back bristle up at once, and it challenges the foe with all its might. And lastly, Clefairy. Name, Clefairy. Type, Normal. Species, Moonlight Pokemon. Gender, Female. Ability, Magic Guard. Stage, Intermediate. Moves, Charm, Copycat, Defense Curl, Pound, Sing, Metronome, Gravity, Minimize, Disarming Voice, Light Screen, Heal Pulse, Calm Mind, Psychic, Confusion, Mimic, Thunderbolt, Water Pulse, Ice Beam, Flamethrower, Protect, Bulk Up, Misty Terrain. Pokédex entry, on every night of a full moon, groups of this Pokemon come out to play. When dawn arrives, the tired Clefairy returns to their quiet mountain retreats and go to sleep nestled up against each other. For the next 3 days, Aoki trained his Pokemon, especially for the gym, in a private training space owned by the Researcher Association. Misty didn't have that privilege, so she trained normally near the coast. Her Starmie and Slowpoke became good partners in psychic training. Aoki trained Bagon, Nidorino, and Clefairy, especially for the gym battle. Especially Bagon as he had less experience than others. Charmeleon, Pidgeotto, and Weepinbell did their own training separately. All three of them were near master rank and needed a push or a hard battle. Sometimes Aoki cannot believe that he would soon own the master-level Pokémon that so many people dream of owning. Some Pokémon spend their lifetime training but still cannot reach the master rank. Together with the harsh training, they go through an Aoki's nutritious meal, all his Pokémons had become monsters in their own league. The growth potential of a Pokémon also depends on their age, as Aoki's Pokémons are all young, and they have a very fast growth rate. As Pokémon grow older, their comprehension speed decreases, so the best way for a Pokémon to reach their peak is by starting very early. But only training is not enough to make a Pokémon stronger, there are multiple factors that are important that many trainers forget. The first was if the Pokémon had the desire to get stronger or not. Without will and determination, no Pokémon can become strong no matter how much he trainers. The second was getting trained as per their species. For example, if a person wants to teach an Oberline Pokémon in physical moves where that species shines in a special attack, that Pokémon will never become stronger. The third was a sense of urgency. There is a reason why when a strong wild Pokémon is found in an area, all the wild Pokémon start becoming stronger. The constant feeling of urgency and instinct for survival makes the Pokémons grow faster. This is why all the strong wild Pokémons from the areas around the main roads are removed so that the Pokémons of that area don't become strong. While Aoki was going back to the hotel, a piece of information reached his ears. The power plant at the far east of Vermilion City had exploded last night, causing a blackout. Aoki was so engrossed in training that he didn't realize anything. Power plant exploding in the middle of nowhere, strange. If I remember correctly, there are 2 power plants that run the city, as I didn't hear much commotion, so the second one must have provided enough backup. It was worth investigating, but Aoki had more important things to do. Ready? Asked Misty. Yes, let's go. Aoki took a deep breath and opened the door to the gym, which was situated near the coast. In the reception sat was a woman who had a tattoo of an Electabuzz on her arm. She had black-red colored spiky hair similar to a gang member. So you are the runts that want to challenge Surge Hui. Don't be a pussy and start crying like those pathetic trainers because they didn't stop the match and got their Pokémon injured. LT. Surge wouldn't show mercy, she said as she took Aoki and Misty to the field. This gym battle was only available in private mode as people knew what happened in the gym and didn't want to see Pokémon getting brutally beaten up. On the other side of the battlefield stood a giant muscular man in a military uniform. He was the tallest man Aoki had ever seen. Damn, he looks intimidating, scary. Misty felt a chill down her spine seeing that man. He could probably punch a Pokémon to death. I hope the rumors that he can eat a rock Pokémon alive are not true, Misty thought, seeing Surge. Misty stood back while Aoki went first with a confident smile. A confident kid, hey. How many official gyms did you beat, brat? Asked Surge. 3, it's going to be 4 soon, answered Aoki with a smirk. Haha, I like your confidence, brat. Be sure to have the same confidence in the battle or you'll be the same as the other trainers that overestimated their strength and ran away crying like a pussy. Oi, set up the anti-electric barrier, he shouted. The receptionist turned on the barrier that stopped lightning from damaging the gym and left for her post. The next minute a man who looked like another gang member came in acting as the referee. Standard rules would be followed in this 3vs3 match. Only the challenger is allowed to change Pokémon. Start. Both of them sent their Pokémon to the field together. Aoki chose Bagon while Surge chose Electabuzz. Electabuzz smashed his fists together as sparks danced around them. Bagon looked directly into the eyes of Electabuzz with immense pride. A dragon Pokémon, hey. Let's see how much power does your little dragon packs. Electabuzz Thunder Punch. Buzz Electabuzz kicked the ground and dashed towards Bagon with thunder-clad fists. Bagon dodge following my commands and use Dragon Dance. The eyes of Bagon sharpened as he dodged the first few combos of Electabuzz, hearing Aoki's commands, and got 2 Dragon Dances. Surge was surprised and amazed to see Aoki accurately predict the trajectory of Electabuzz's punch. The Pokémon is jumping too much. Electabuzz used Thunder Wave and paralyze him. Bagon Dragon Breath. A condensed wave of Dragon Breath was released from Bagon, destroying the Thunder Wave. Aoki could not let Bagon slow down or come in contact with Electabuzz at any cost. Electabuzz Discharge. Bagon Protect and Dragon Rage. A large amount of electricity was released from Electabuzz which covered the entire battlefield in his range, but Bagon was safe due to protect and fired a Dragon Rage. Electabuzz, break the Dragon Rage with Thunder Punch. Buzz Electabuzz punched the orb of the Dragon Energy creating an explosion. Bagon go near him and use Dragon Cloak with Dragon Claw and Dragon Rage combo. Dense Dragon-type energy enveloped Bagon as he dashed towards Electabuzz with Dragon Claw. Electabuzz Thunderbolt. Bagon broke through the Thunderbolt with a Dragon Claw and fired a few orbs of Dragon Rage at the face of Electabuzz, dealing a lot of damage. The combination of Dragon Dance and Dragon Cloak had given a major boost to his Dragon-type moves. Their fight continued with Bagon and Electabuzz evenly matched, but Aoki knew prolonging the match would be against his favor. Bagon, stop restraining your energy and go wild. Bagon had completely stopped restraining his Dragon-type energy which was going rampant and clashing against Electabuzz. It was surprising seeing a Pokemon at the first evolution stage could have so much energy to spare. This brat is a genius in commanding his Pokemon, thought Surge as he looked at his Electabuzz. Even after being faster and more moves than Bagon, Electabuzz was getting pushed back. Let's end this. Electabuzz snap out of it and use Thunderbolt. Buzz. This is when both Aoki and Bagon became more serious. He could not let Bagon take damage from the Thunderbolt at any cost. Bagon Dragon Cloak Maximum and Headbutt. Bagon roared as the dragon energy around him became denser. Electabuzz keep the Thunderbolt active and use Brick Break. Bagon dashed towards Electabuzz like a bullet as the Dragon Cloak kept colliding with the Thunderbolt. Bagon gritted his teeth with pain and increased the energy of the attack. Just before the fist of Electabuzz clad with fighting-type energy was going to clash with Bagon's head, Aoki commanded. Zen Headbutt. Instantly the normal type of energy is converted into psychic-type energy and collided with Electabuzz. Boom! The clash of the two moves threw Bagon backward into the field while Electabuzz slammed into the wall of the gym, but still the dangerous Thunderbolt Aoki wanted Bagon so much to avoid could not be avoided. Both Pokemon took huge damage from the collision and none of them were able to stand up again. Both Pokemon are unable to battle. This round is a tie, announced the referee. Chapter 47, Aoki vs Surge 2. The referee was shocked to see Bagon and Electabuzz tie. Seems like he was some qualities, not bad, thought Surge. Lieutenant Surge was getting bored after fighting trainers who could not even beat his first Pokemon. Misty, who was recording the fight with Aoki's Pokédex, was formulating a battlefield in her mind as to what she would have done if she was in his place. First Misty thought of giving up the gym but realized that she would never be able to grow if she didn't take challenges and fulfill her dream. Moreover, she didn't want to let Aoki's expectations of her get down. Good match, brat. Let's get to the second round, said Surge as he released his second Pokemon into the battlefield. Magneton. A Magneton appeared on the field releasing sparks from its three heads. You have done good, Bagon, leave the rest to others. Aoki called back Bagon and released Clefairy. Clefairy, she did a cute dance on being called for the battle. Let's show them your true power, Clefairy. Leave it to me, master. Sounded a voice in his head. The referee announced the start of the match. Magneton Electric Terrain. Clefairy Calm Mind and Gravity. Electric sparks emerging from Magneton filled the entire battlefield with sparks, making it its domain. Clefairy, who was floating with gravity, was immune and got Calm Mind done instantly. Aoki had to be careful against the Steel-type moves of Magneton as it would be super effective against Fairy typing. Magneton Electro Ball. Clefairy dodge and use Work Up. Balls of lightning were shot at Clefairy while she dodged and hovered all over the field with gravity. Sulfady use Light Screen. Magneton Discharge. A large amount of electricity was released from Magneton aimed at Clefairy. Due to the effect of electric terrain, the electric-type moves had gotten a large boost in attack power. Clefairy Disarming Voice. Magneton was a species that was sensitive to sounds and vibrations, so when Clefairy's disarming voice reached it, although it did some damage but stunned Magnemite for a few seconds. Burn him, Clefairy. Use Flamethrower. Magneton snap out of it and use Protect. Magneton could not use any move in time and took massive damage from the Flamethrower due to being Steel-type. Magneton came to his senses due to pain and attacked Clefairy with Flash Cannon, which Clefairy dodged by moving out of the way even if the move was very fast. The match went on for another 2 minutes when Magneton took massive damage from the Flamethrower again and was in his last legs but against giving up, whereas Clefairy didn't have a single scratch on her. She kept on using a Calm Mind and Work Up, to increase her power energy turn while not giving Magneton any chance to power up. Surge saw the determination of his Pokemon to win and called for the last move. Magneton uses Hyper Beam. Aoki also knew that it was Magneton's last move, so he asked Clefairy to use her special move. Clefairy special move Almighty Push. Clefairy pointed her hand forward and a terrifying amount of psychic energy gathered at the palm of her hand. This move was a combination of gravity, psychic, and confusion which Clefairy and Aoki had trained very hard to create. The full-powered hyper beam of Magneton shot towards Clefairy like a cannon, but the massive repulsive energy burst out from Clefairy's palms, breaking through the hyper beam and crashing into Magneton, which crashed it into the gym wall, creating a dent. Second round winner, Aoki. By the time Surge realized what happened, his Magneton already fainted. Almighty Push, what the hell was that? From when did Clefairy bring out so much power? While Surge was in his thoughts, Aoki patted Clefairy's head for winning. Master, I won without taking any damage, hehe. I need dark chocolate in return. I give it to you when we go back to the hotel. Yay! Master is the best, Clefairy cheered happily and returned to her Pokeball. Chapter 48, Aoki vs Surge -3. Aoki vs Surge 3. You got me hooked up, brat, now show me if you can defeat this Pokemon, said Surge as he released his last Pokemon in the field. Rai. A 1M tall peak master rank Raichu appeared in the field with electricity sparkling on his cheeks. This is one of my strongest Pokemon, Raichu, who has been with me for years and my pride. Defeat him and show me if you are worthy of the Thunder Badge. He still did not take out his ace Pokemon. He must be very confident in his Raichu. The referee was first confused about why Lieutenant Surge used his strongest lineup, then he saw his face of Surge and realized that he was enjoying the battle even if he was losing. He had Surge getting bored as no trainers stood up against him. Usually, Lieutenant Surge only used one of these strong Pokemons in a match, but against Aoki, he used all his strong Pokemons, especially Raichu. Now the referee was too interested to see how would Aoki's Pokemon face up against the Raichu. Aoki looked at the master rank Raichu with a slight worry and released his Nidorino. He could use Charm Leon or Weepin' Bell for an easier time, but if Nidorino really wanted to grow, he needed to fight against opponents stronger than him. Nidorino stomped his foot on the ground and released some poisonous gas from his mouth after coming to the field. The referee announced the beginning of the match, but this time Aoki made the first more. Nidorino Focus Energy and Poison Coat. Aoki had trained all of his Pokemon so that they can apply a cloak of their energy for an extra layer of defense. This technique surpassed the difficulty of every move they knew. Raichu doesn't let him focus and use Iron Tail. Raichu dashed towards Nidorino and stabbed his silver tail at Nidorino. Aoki looked towards the movement of Raichu and realized that Raichu was not slow at all. Just as the Iron Tail was about to hit Nidorino, Nidorino used counter to hit back Raichu instead of waiting for Aoki's commands. The training Aoki provides all his Pokemon has made them able to fight independently in situations where Aoki's commands can't reach them on time. LT. Surge immediately stopped the movement of Raichu before Iron Tail can connect and ordered him to move back. This will be hard, Raichu's body control is top-notch. Raichu Electro Balls. Balls of electricity formed in front of Raichu, which he started firing at Nidorino with an impressive speed. Nidorino used Ice Beam and Water Pulse to create a wall of ice. Boom! 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 3 to 4 electro balls completely destroyed the ice wall and hit the translucent screen of Move Protect. The last ball hit Nidorino, but the damage was reduced due to the ground-type energy coating. The wall gave him enough time to summon the coating, as it was the most difficult to do for Nidorino for now. Nidorino Poison Sting. Raichu Iron Tail. Nidorino fired poison stings like a missile, which Raichu kept breaking by rotating his silver tail. Raichu started a barrage of thunderbolts and electro balls, while Nidorino used a combination of Ice Beam, Sludge Bomb, Poison Jab, etc. Due to Raichu having a light screen and Reflect Activate, he did not take much damage in spite of having bad defense. What gave Aoki a hard time was the power behind the Thunderbolt and Electro Ball. The master rank moves had done massive damage to Nidorino in spite of him having ground energy. If not for Nidorino using Disable on Thunderbolt, the match would be over by now. This was Aoki's most difficult battle so far, which pushed his focus to the extreme. Every movement, every attack counted. Now he realized why a trainer getting a Thunder Badge was so rare. Even Misty, who was watching the battle, was sweating in tension. You can do it, Nidorino, don't give up. Raichu Thunder Punch. Nidorino Thrash and Toxic Spike. Nidorino's two front limbs and Raichu's fist collide, creating shockwaves. The spikes on the back of Nidorino bust out and set up toxic spikes all over the field. Raichu use Safeguard. A white veil appeared around Reishu that protected it from getting poisoned. Surge realized how of a problem the Nidorino was. First, all of Aoki's Pokémons have moves that have power equivalent to master rank with them being at intermediate rank. The next problem was that Nidorino's poison was dangerous, so Reishu had to be cautious all the time. Generally, Reishu instantly gets the opponent paralyzed by Nidorino, was somewhat countering that with a ground-type energy cloak. Both Aoki and Surge knew that one direct hit from Reishu was over for Nidorino. Let's end this, Reishu, use Thunder. Nidorino used the strategy discussed. Ice wall around Reishu. Dark clouds instantly formed above the head of the two Pokémon and a large amount of electricity was rained on the battlefield. The effect of the move was so strong that the entire gym was enveloped in white light. Aoki covered his ears as he felt like his eardrums would burst. What the hell is this power? This would even one-shot elite-level Pokémon. Cursed Aoki. This went on for a few seconds until another explosion occurred on the battlefield and the light faded. A broken battlefield was uncovered which had large holes all over the place. In the field and as for the Pokémon. Everyone was shocked to see the outcome. Reishu was lying on the ground and fainted while Nidorino was still standing with blood dripping from all over his body. He gave look towards Reishu and gave a roar of victory before falling to the next second. As Reishu fell first, he lost the match. Our Reishu is unable to battle, the winner is Nidorino. LT. Surge is out of Pokémon, challenger Aoki wins the match. The referee announced, still shocked by the outcome. In her entire life, she hasn't seen a single Pokémon manage to stay awake under the thunder of Reishu. What actually happened was, that just as Reishu used thunder, Nidorino used to dig with all his might and went under Reishu but still took some damage while digging. The power of thunder almost made him faint on spot, but when he remembered all the training he did with Aoki and the others, he could not let all that go to waste and would give his all. The thunder had completely blinded Reishu, so he was not able to detect Nidorino going underground. The ice wall assisted him in this matter. Within a few seconds, Nidorino reached under Reishu and used the combination of Horn Attack and Poison Jab on Reishu, who was unprepared, to finally end the match. Aoki ran towards his fallen Nidoran and emptied 3 bottles of max potions on him to stabilize his wounds. "You did it, buddy, I am proud of you," whispered Aoki in the ears of Nidorino and called him back to the Pokeball. It was Aoki's first victory against a master rank Pokemon. Surge too called back Reishu with a smile on his face. "Well done, brat, seems like you were not just talk after all. It's been a while since someone has managed to defeat my Reishu." He took out a lightning-shaped bait and handed it to Aoki. "You deserve this badge, brat." Aoki gave a light smile and put the badge in his badge case, which already had 3 badges. "The TM for Thunderbolt is not available right now, you can get it from the reception if you come tomorrow morning." Misty wanted to challenge Lieutenant Surge too, but LT. Surge said to come at night as his Pokémon needed a break. "You should have more master-level Pokémons, right?" Aoki asked Surge. "Yes, I have more master-level Pokémon. In case you don't know, a few days ago a giant power surge happened in the power plant. The entire city was blacked out. The reason is unknown, but the entire power plant was destroyed, so my other master-level Pokémons are there supplying electricity while the power plant is being repaired," Surge said. Aoki handed his Bagon and Nidoran to Nurse Joy, who became angry seeing the condition. "Why are you trainers so reckless? I tell every trainer that the Thunder Badge is impossible for new trainers. I always advise you to come to this gym at last or entirely skip this gym, but no one listens to me." "Nurse Joy, listen to me, I won the match," said Aoki, showing the Thunder Badge. "What? You won?" exclaimed Nurse Joy, attracting every trainer's attraction toward Aoki. "He must be joking. It's impossible to beat that monster," some trainers exclaimed. Somebody recognized Aoki from the Junior Cup and pointed him out, but another one said, "So what, I have a victory bell and still lost?" Aoki ignored them and asked when will his Pokémon recover, to which she said Bagon would completely recover by tomorrow morning as he was just tired, but Nidorino would take some time. Due to the expensive medicines, Aoki used Nidorino's wounds to have healed, but he would be kept under supervision for 1 day more to check if any internal injury is present. "Congratulations, now take some rest." "It must have been hard to command such a battle," said Misty. Aoki, whose head was on her lap, closed his eyes to take some rest with a satisfied smile. Chapter 49, Gyarados Rampage. At night, Aoki and Misty regathered in the gym as Misty was going to have her gym battle. In that match, she only won 1 round with her Gyarados but lost the other 2 rounds. She didn't do the mistake of making one of her Pokemon fights for too long, as she knew Lieutenant Surge will not show mercy. Her most challenging time was fighting his Raichu, which always one-hit KO'd her Pokemon. Unless that Pokemon was eliminated or not used, she cannot win. 4 tries, it took her about 4 more tries to finally make a strategy that made her win the match, that too because she was lucky. The first round was Electrode vs Azumarill, which Electrode won. The second match was Pikachu vs Politoed, which Politoed won by defeating both Pikachu and Electrode. In the third round, Surge called out Electabuzz. That Pokemon defeated Politoed, making Misty call out her strongest Pokemon, Starmie. After an intense match, Starmie managed to win by only a few seconds, making Misty win the overall match. At many times the match was nearly over if not for the confuse Ray and recover of Starmie. Aoki was amazed by the power Surge's Pokemon showed. These matches were a very good learning experience for Misty against electric-type Pokemons whose few hits made her Pokemon render useless. Misty was originally a novice at commanding Pokemon and just brute forced her way through, but after spending more than months with Aoki and closely observing him, her battle style had shown huge improvements. She was given the same reward as Aoki, I.E. the TM for Thunderbolt. You 2 kids are stronger than the average trainers that come to challenge me. Especially you, Surge said, pointing at Aoki. Both of you keep training and remember all the things you learn from gym battles, these teachings will help you throughout your lives. As a piece of personal advice, remember to have discipline in your lives, it helps in the long run. Good luck on your journey, brats. Thank you, Mr. Surge. Just as they exited the gym, they were assaulted by a strong wind on their face. They could see people evacuate their houses and the area, while Officer Jenny ensured that people don't trample on each other. At first Aoki and Misty were confused as to what was going on, but a ferocious roar reached their ears, making them look toward the ocean. Far from the shore, within the darkness, around 30 glowing blue pillars could be seen. If looked carefully, it was a group of 30 Gyarados quickly approaching the coast. Officer Jenny took the microphone and started announcing. Attention to every citizen, a group of 30 Gyarados is approaching the coast. Please evacuate the site as soon as possible. Your safety wouldn't be guaranteed after the Gyarados reach the coast. Trainers are requested to help if possible. For every Gyarados defeated, 5k Poke Dollars would be given to all the participants. Hearing the announcement, few trainers stayed, but the majority left as they didn't want to confront such a large group of Gyarados. Such a large group of Gyarados was enough to cause large-scale destruction to the city if not stopped. The police force of the city was lined up on the shore with their Pokemon, while LT Surge and the receptionist too came out from their gym. How did this happen, Officer Jenny? Asked Misty. I was in the observation center when everything started. Gyarados migrate and mate during this time of the year, so they are often seen on the surface of the ocean migrating. A bastard riding on a Fearow flew towards a group of 5 Gyarados who were migrating. The bastard summoned an Alakazam and killed 4 of the Gyarados before catching the largest one of them. Based on the appearance of the Gyarados, they were newly evolved, so they didn't have much strength. It is well known not to mess with a group of Gyarados no matter how weak they are. That what was feared happened, as one of the Gyarados made a roar before dying. The bastard flew towards the coast with his Pokemon while dropping blood on the way before teleporting away with the Alakazam. A minute later a pack of Gyarados appeared on the scene and got enraged seeing their comrades dead. Gyarados lose their sanity in rage and use their anger on the first thing they suspect was the reason for their anger. As the blood trails lead to the coast, all the Gyarados are now coming to cause havoc for killing their comrade. Did you get the picture of the guy? Asked Aoki. Yes, see this, said Jenny, showing a picture on her UC device. Sure enough, it's that bastard that can only do that, thought Aoki as he saw the picture of Nate on a big Fearow. I know this guy. Search for Nate, who participated in the Junior Cup held in Viridian City a few months ago, you'll get his profile, said Aoki. We are trainers that have got the Thunder Badge, we will help in repelling the group of Gyarados, said Misty. My Raichu and Magneton are still not completely healed, so I will not be able to help in a frontal assault, said Surge, making the faces of the police force pale. Worry not, my Pokemons are strong enough to deal with them if someone supports or gives me the support role taking the frontal assault. Lieutenant Surge was ashamed to say that, but he had no choice. Aoki was suspicious as to why he was not using his ace, but this was not the right time. The receptionist girl was also a gym apprentice who had a Jolteon, and Pikachu also decided to help. I will take the front line and try to deal as much damage as I can, till then focus on defense, said Aoki, showing 4 badges that included the Thunder Badge. Officer Jenny, who was the current head of the situation. She agreed to the proposition of Aoki and began the preparation. Lieutenant Surge heard about this and told Aoki to fight to his heart's content. he will ensure that his Pokémons do not die or get in his way. Asterisk. 3 minutes later the group of 30 Gyarados reached the coast and set up a massive rainstorm with rain dance. Aoki's hair flowed as the breeze of wind hit his face, his entire focus on the Gyarados that had reached the shore. Misty called out her Gyarados for frontal assault and Slowpoke for support. The Gyarados in the front of the pack started by firing Water Pulse. All of the Gyarados were around medium to peak intermediate rank. Arcanine's Flamethrower around 2 Arcanines and 8 Growlithes breathed a sea of flames to meet the Water Pulse. There was a group of Wobbuffets who used Mirror Coats to reverse back the move. Aoki clicked 4 Pokeballs calling out Clefairy, Charmeleon, Weepinbell, and Pidgeotto. You all release your restraints and destroy everything in front of you. Make this battle your foothold to master rank, said Aoki to Charmeleon, Weepinbell, and Pidgeotto. Clefairy, connect our minds with telepathy and do as I say. Charmeleon with a devious smile dashed towards the group of Gyarados using Dragon Dance and work up on the way. 3 Gyarados fired Dragon Rage from their mouth at Charmeleon, but a wave of Dragon Breath slammed on their face, destroying the orbs of Dragon Rage. Charmander sucked in a lot of air and breathed a sea of flames towards the Gyarados, which evaporated even the hydro pumps made by 4 Gyarados. The scale of the flamethrower was equal to the combination flamethrower of the police force. Boom! Thunder fell on the group of Gyarados that Charmeleon attacked, causing huge damage and paralyzing them, giving Charmeleon to end the battle. Dragon-type and Steel-type energy covered the body of Charmeleon as he started causing havoc among the group Gyarados. Pidgeotto had completely turned silver as Steel-type energy covered her entire body. She used a combination of Air Cutter, Steel Wing, Air Slash, Wing Attack, and finally Hyper Beam to cause havoc like Charmeleon. She had agility and Double Team active, making her untouchable. Weepinbell had his arms clad in sharp grass-type energy as he kept slashing towards the Gyarados while releasing Poison Powder, Leaf Powder, and Stun Spore around him. He continuously used Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, Grass Knot, Energy Ball, and occasionally Solar Beam as it took time to charge in this weather. Clefairy, whose mind was connected to Aoki, was following his instructions to support the other 3 Pokémons. Occasionally she would lift up Gyarados into the air and use Thunderbolt or Ice Beam at them. Her Ice Beam also was used to provide a platform for Charmeleon and Weepinbell to fight on. Each of the Pokémon was using their full power and concentration to fight. Misty's Gyarados was also rampaging while Slowpoke protected her and Aoki. Is this really Pokémon of a new trainer? Exclaimed some people standing there. Officer Jenny also had her mouth open wide, seeing the power displayed by Aoki's Pokémon. The police force was catching every Gyarados that were falling down, fainted or near fainted, into Pokeballs. Lieutenant Surge was doing his job, making sure that all the Gyarados faint or support Aoki and the other trainers while not getting in their way simultaneously. His electric-type Pokémons were a huge help in the battle. Some trainers were lucky and managed to get themselves a Gyarados, which they would regret later due to their high maintenance cost, violent nature, and most importantly the difficulty to tame the Gyarados. Most of the Gyarados caught by the police force would be released back into the water after calming them down. The rest of the Pokémon on the site were busy minimizing the damage while ensuring that the attacks didn't reach the city. After nearly 1 hour of battle, all the Gyarados were successfully caught. While this battle was going on, many water Pokémons like Tentacule, Tentacle, Shelter, etc. left the water to take shelter in the land. Among them was an injured Horsa that Misty caught without hesitation. Officer Jenny sighed with relief and said, "Thank you for doing all this. Without your large amount of damage would have happened in addition to casualties." Aoki, who was continuously staring at the water, said, "It's still early to celebrate. Why weren't all the Gyarados caught?" she asked, confused. "The main boss is still there, who didn't make his appearance yet," said Aoki. As soon as he said that, with an ear-shattering roar, a 14M blood-red Gyarados revealed himself from the water. All the earlier Gyarados were ranged from 6.5M to 9M, but this was the largest Gyarados Aoki had ever seen. Moreover, it was a shiny Gyarados. A shiny totem. The face of every person and trainer paled seeing the Gyarados. "Totem Gyarados!" she exclaimed, seeing the menacing blood-red Gyarados. A while ago Clefairy had wanted that a very strong Gyarados was hiding underwater, which made Aoki realize that he must be a pack leader who would strike when his opponents let their guard down. "Don't worry, I will take care of it," said Aoki as he went forwards with his Pokémon standing in front of him. "Even if he fails, I am still here with my Pokémon," Lieutenant Surge reassured Nurse Joy. Roar! The Gyarados released another loud roar, staring at the person that dared to challenge him. "Ready?" "Yes, master." Cha. Pidgeotto. We. Chapter 50, New Partner and Master Rank. Vermilion Coast. The giant Gyarados gave a roar that shook the surroundings and instilled primal fear in both the Pokémon and humans present there. Just like the reissue of Lieutenant Surge, the Gyarados was near the peak of Master Rank 2, so his destructive power would be devastating, in addition to the fact that as a species Gyarados were stronger than reissue. Clefairy take the support role and use continuous lightning attacks. The red Gyarados charged a Hyper Beam and fired towards Pidgeotto, who fired her own Hyper Beam. Weepinbell fire a Hyper Beam too. The collision of the three Hyper Beams had a similar effect as Reissue's thunder that made everyone close their eyes due to how bright it was. In this collision, Pidgeotto was slammed to the ground due to devastating power from the Hyper Beam from Gyarados, while Weepinbell somehow balanced himself. Clefairy used the power of gravity to divert some of the energy from the Hyper Beam off Pidgeotto, or that might have caused a critical injury. Charmeleon's Fail Flame grew brighter as he fired a massive fire blast at the Gyarados, making him stop the Hyper Beam. Gyarados got more infuriated and did a strange dance while floating in the air. Aoki realized that the Gyarados did Dragon Dance, which increased his danger level even more. Charmeleon Dragon Dance and Flare Blitz. Weepinbell Poison Jab and Poison Leaf. Pidgeotto Air Cutter. Taking out the Pokeball of Bagon and Nidorino, Aoki commanded them to use range attacks without hitting their companions. Both of you will only play support roles like Clefable. Those three need a push to go to Master Rank, and this battle is for that. Crescent-shaped wind slashes crashed into Gyarados, which made Gyarados use Twister, creating a tornado of wind around Pidgeotto. Pidgeotto increased her flying speed and used a Steel Wing on the scales of Gyarados. Gyarados immediately used Aqua Tail, which Pidgeotto somehow dodged. Gyarados manipulated the water and summoned a giant wave that Clefairy stopped with Psychic and used Confusion on Gyarados. Dark-type energy condensed the mouth of Gyarados, which got rid of the confusion. Charmeleon had done all the preparation and fired Blitz on the face of Gyarados, making him roar in pain. Charmeleon and Weepinbell reached near the Gyarados and started using their moves. The Gyarados roared and released brine from all over his body, which did damage to the three of them. Massive amount of Ice-type energy formed around Gyarados, which he released all around using the move Blizzard. Weepinbell Solar Beam. Pidgeotto Whirlwind. Charmeleon Fire Blast and Flamethrower. Clefairy used Thunderbolt. The Ice-type energy from Blizzard was suppressed by the combined effect of Aoki's Pokémons, but after that Gyarados started using Thrash and Hydro Pump like a rampaging beast. The Gyarados knew a lot of moves like a Hydro Pump, Twister, Water Pulse, Brine, Ice Beam, Ice Fang, Blizzard, Dragon Dance, Rain Dance, Dragon Rage, Crunch, Thrash, and Hyper Beam. Every time the Gyarados took damage, it started doing Dragon Dance, increasing his power even more. Due to the large body of Gyarados, it was currently impossible for Nidorino to poison that Gyarados, so the poison stall strategy was out of option. The strongest trio were fighting the Gyarados for a while and now started to get tired, so Bagon and Nidorino started to provide more support. Moreover, the Gyarados was set on killing everything on the coast, be it Pokémon or humans. The police and the trainers had already evacuated, leaving behind Lieutenant Surge, Officer Jenny, Misty, and Aoki. The scale of the battle was so large that the area was completely destroyed. The 3 power of Aoki had taken massive damage but were still able to fight due to the healing pulse and support of Clefairy. Aoki didn't let Clefairy directly interfere in the battle, as only by reaching near death can a Pokémon truly become strong. The battle against the red Gyarados was going on for around 30 minutes, which completely destroyed the coastal area. The power and tenacity displayed by the Gyarados were beyond Aoki's estimation. When a Pokémon reaches Master Rank, they naturally become rulers of a region, and Aoki's Pokémon were fighting against a ruler. Boom! 3 of the Pokémons of Aoki crashed into the ground and uttered a painful cry. Aoki felt their energy decreasing at a rapid rate. Stand up! If you fall here, all the training you did would be worthless. Give your everything in this fight, show me that you 3 are willing to stand on the top. Fight and keep moving forward until the enemy in front of you is destroyed. Every word of Aoki increased the heartbeat of these Pokémons. The fire inside Charmeleon, Pidgeotto, and Weepinbell grew brighter as determination and hunger for power grew within them. The energy within their body surpassed their total capacity and burst out, surrounding them, changing their body and making them stronger. With a burst of light, the 3 Pokémon stepped into Master Rank. Let's end this fight now. Charmeleon Dragonic Flames. Pidgeotto Hyper Beam. Weepinbell Solar Beam. Support team, use the rest of your energy now. Clefairy and Nidorino Thunderbolt. Bagon Dragon Rage. The Gyarados now felt a genuine threat from all the Pokémon in front of him and fired a Hyper Beam that contained all of his energy too. The attacks collided, creating an explosion so large that the dark clouds from the rain dance were created. If not for Clefairy, the people standing there would be sent flying due to wind pressure. As their vision cleared, the fainted figure of Gyarados could be seen floating in the water while Aoki's Pokémon were standing with a tired but satisfied smile. Aoki took out a dive ball and threw it at the red Gyarados, catching it. "I don't think it would be a problem if I have the Gyarados right," said Aoki to Officer Jenny. "And no problem," she said while still comprehending the scale of battle that took place. Aoki went towards his Pokémon who were panting and gave them a hug. "Good job all of you. I knew you could do it." They gave a satisfied smile and fell asleep in Aoki's embrace. Aoki looked at the dive ball and thought, "Looks like my wallet is going to be drained even faster now." "Yo Emily! The red Gyarados got captured," Lieutenant Surge said on a call. "What? How did that happen?" came a scream from the other side, making Surge move the phone away from him. He calmly told the entire story about the incident. "Sigh. Do you know, even if the experiment failed, it still was an important specimen? If that Pokémon goes insane, which will surely happen, the League will get hold of the specimen, after which retrieving will be impossible." I know, stop lecturing me. You are not my boss," Lieutenant Surge said with an annoying tone. Emily was silent for a moment, then spoke up. "I think you were supposed to give a detailed report about the Zapdos incident. When Luther came to the site, everything was already over," Emily said. "You have already got your feathers and DNA of that chicken, so don't expect me to give a report so soon. Unlike the heartless woman you are, I care for my Pokémon. I need time to get over the Pokémon that died in the incident. They were like my children who I raised. My ace is in the hospital while others are tired after pumping electricity 24/7 until the power plant is completely repaired. So until I feel like I will be back at the job, I will not be contacting you," Surge said before cutting of the phone. On the other side, Emily slammed the phone in anger. "That bastard, who does he think he is? Caring for my Pokémon like my child, what bullshit. They are just inferior animals, like natural resources for humans to use." Tap. Tap. As she was ranting, a second person entered the room. "Ah, never thought that the most calm executive will make that face," said that new person. Emily looked at the person with annoyance. He wore a black shirt along with a matching cap and jeans. He wore white gloves and shoes which were in contrast with his black dress. He had blue hair and a charming face. "Are you here to mess around here, Executive Proton? I think you had a mission to eliminate a stronghold in Yoto. Maybe not every day I see you lose your cool, which seems like fun that destroys things. Say, wanna go on a date to cool off? I will rather spend my day in the laboratory doing nothing than go on a date with you. Now get lost and go to your job. I don't know why you have me so much, but whatever." Proton left the office with a bright smile. Chapter 51, Motivation. After a long night, Aoki and Misty crashed into the bed and directly fell asleep. Officer Jenny personally took the charge of protecting the Pokémon Center while Aoki's Pokémon were getting healed. The Pokémon Center had two types of healing methods. The first was directly healing a Pokémon from the ball, while the other was healing after taking them out of the Pokémon, which was more in department. Due to the crisis that had fallen on the city earlier, a lot of nurses were called to heal the large number of injured Pokémons, both owned and wild. The next morning Aoki got back all his Pokémon at full health with the addition of Gyarados, who was new to his team. Misty was given the responsibility to record the battle that happened using his Pokédex for later use. Aoki rewatched the footage and showed it to his Pokémon. Nidorino and Bagon were disappointed as they could not become the main fighting force in the fight and had to play a support role. Just as they thought that they were catching up to the top three, they have been left behind again. Bagon after birth never participated in hard battles, which made him a bit arrogant. But after fighting Lieutenant Surge and seeing the battle which his big brothers and sister fought, toned down his arrogance while filling him with more determination to surpass them. The same was the case with Nidorino, who asked Aoki to immediately start training, but Aoki told them to take a break for a few days before starting to train. Aoki wanted to test the strength of the master rank Pokémons, but they needed some rest from training too. Aoki checked his 3 Pokémon who had broken into master rank if any changes took place aside from their energy reserves and physical strength. The first change was the muscles that were now more defined on Charmeleon, along with these scales becoming tougher and claws sharper. The fire on his tail had also become hotter. The green color on Weepinbell had become darker, with his arms becoming sharper. The golden color on Pidgeotto had become shinier, along with the increase in the durability of her feathers. Misty released her new Horsa in a pool and welcomed her. Horsa got scared after seeing so many strong people but got comfortable due to the friendly nature of polite and Azumarill. When Horsa heard that he would be provided with plenty of food and safety, he decided to obey Misty. With the addition of Horsa, Misty now has 6 Pokemon. In the afternoon, all the trainers who stayed and fought were given cash rewards in front of the public by the head of the Pokemon fan club of Vermilion City. Only Aoki was given a trophy and a large amount of Pokemon food alongside money. If Aoki was not there, there would have been a lot of casualties and property destruction, which was toned down to only the coast. I watched your battle, Aoki, you were amazing down there, you didn't forget me, didn't you, said a different officer Jenny to him. I remember you, I met you near Pewter City when you came to investigate the case of Venusaur attack. So you remember. You never bothered to contact me or use my recommendation, did you? Haha, sorry about that. I am still not interested in joining the police force. Don't worry about that. Keep up the good work and help people, that is what matters, Officer Jenny said. By the way, how are you here? Aren't you supposed to be stationed in Pewter City? Aoki asked. I am a high-ranking member of the League UC, so I can work from anywhere I want. I was free at that time, so I went there to investigate. Aoki and she talked for some more before it was time for her to leave. Well then, trainer, if you find yourself in any legal trouble, be sure to contact me. See ya. Unknown to Aoki, a blonde-haired lady around the age of 18 wearing black sunglasses watched all his movements throughout the ceremony with interest. She was present when the battle against the Red Gyarados took place but decided not to interfere. She was very impressed with Aoki's commanding style and wanted to fight with him. After a while, a man came near her and whispered, "Work of Professor Carolina is done, she is calling you back, Miss Cynthia." This woman was Shirana Cynthia, the future champion of the Sinnoh region, who accompanied her grandmother to the Kanto region for a short vacation. Let's go. Officer Jenny, who just talked to Aoki, went into a corner and picked up her phone. Are you done with the work there? Came a voice from the other side. It felt like the voice on the other side was panicking. Sigh. Why are you making me do this, Sir Lance? I was supposed to help you with paperwork, not do everything for you. If you make me do your part of the work again, I will quit, you know. Ahem. I will talk with the League to increase your pay and give you some good vacation trips. Hearing this, Jenny's one took a complete turn. You should have told that earlier, Sir Lance. I will be there by the evening, said and hung up the phone. Sigh. Doing paperwork for the League champion is so stressful. If not for the pay and benefits, I would have never taken this job. Evening. Aoki booked a private booth in the Pokemon Center and dialed Professor Oak. Misty was sitting beside him as she wanted to see Professor 2. The call with Professor Oak connected, who was sitting with a large plate of food near him. Aoki, good job in helping to save the Vermilion City, he said by taking a large bite. But the place he was sitting was too familiar to Aoki. Professor, are you perhaps in my house? As soon as he said that, 2 faces popped up near Professor Oak. Seems like you are having fun, Aoki, said Aoki's father. You contact me very less, did you forget your mom or something, said his mother, pouting. Aoki gave a nervous laugh and changed the topic. Is that Misty? She looks so cute, just like her mother. If you make her sad, just see what I do, said Aoki's mom, making Misty blush. Misty, please take care of my son, he gets very reckless when the matter of Pokemon comes. Yes, Aunt, I will take care of him, said Misty. After making small talk with her parents, he asked to give the call back to Professor, who had finished his food. So Professor, what are you doing in my house? Since we made a contract, I decided to meet your parents. Moreover, I always order food from your restaurant, so I decided to give a visit today. I get it, did you see the footage of the Red Gyarados? Yes, the color was due to it being shiny, but the size is too abnormal. From the footage, I could see that the Gyarados had lost all sense of reasoning at a certain point and attacked everywhere recklessly. Do you mean? Yes, the Gyarados was not evolved naturally. What do you suggest, Professor? I am sending you some methods that might help to recover the mentality of the Gyarados to normal. Refrain from using any T.ms on him for a while. Sure, I will contact you again after I make him obey me, said Aoki. After having a discussion with Professor Oak, both of them returned to their hotel. Somewhere in a large room, a Nidoking and a Radon could be seen fighting. Standing a bit far from it was a brown-haired man wearing a black suit. It was Giovanni, the boss of the Team Rocket. A pretty green-haired woman entered the room. Sir, something went wrong. What happened, Emily? The red Gyarados that we released in the ocean outside Vermilion City was caught. How did that happen? Giovanni asked calmly. One by one Emily dictated every detail starting with Nate. That brat. Deduct his credits, and don't give him any new Pokemon till he redeems himself. That brat knew that we released the Gyarados there, so he purposely did that to bring it out, but I didn't expect the Gunhilder brat to actually subdue the Gyarados, said Giovanni. How much data did you recover? The complete analysis was done before the chip broke. Forget about the Gyarados for now. The Gyarados was a failed product anyways due to it not listening to any command even after getting beaten up. Start training the next batch of Pokemon, based on the data from the Gyarados, said Giovanni. Yes sir. What action did League take against Nate? A fine of 80k poke dollars with being banned from participating in any league event for the next 6 months. Said Emily as she left. If not for getting Pokemon genes from Team Plasma, I would have taught that arrogant kid a lesson long ago, thought Giovanni as he commanded his 2 Pokemons to continue the battle. Chapter 52, Pokemon Land. Sinnoh League Office. It was a busy morning in the office where a lot of people were running around carrying documents of various kinds. In one of the rooms in the office, 2 people were discussing something. One of them was an old man wearing glasses while another one was a young man acting as his assistant. One of our trainers caused an incident in Kanto that caused damage of 2 million poke dollars. Kanto League wants us to pay the cost for repairs, a young man said. What did he do? He provoked a group of Gyarados near the coast of Vermilion City that made them attack the coast. Although they managed to stop the rampage, a large part of the coast and ports were destroyed, which is hindering transportation. The trainer in question has been charged with a fine of 80k poke dollars and banned from participating in any league events, the young man said. You can assume that he is kicked out of Kanto for that time period. He was fortunate that it was the Kanto region. If it was Unova or Kalos he would have been behind the bars now. The old man said. Who is the trainer? His name is Nate. One of his relatives works for the league while his parents are unknown. Sigh. Pay the fine, what else can we do? Inform his relative about the incident and make sure to make the trainer realize his mistake when he comes back to Sinnoh. We can't let our people cause problems for others. Yes sir. Asterisk. Vermilion City. After relaxing and mapping the entire Vermilion City for the next 2 days, Aoki and Misty decided to leave after a few days. Misty went to restock their supplies while Aoki bought some T.MS and items for his Pokemon. He taught Clefairy Shadow Ball and gave her some new hair clips. He gave Nidorino and Weepinbell each a bottle of poison from elite level Arbok that he bought from the Researcher Alliance. Aoki searched for grass-type orbs but they were not available in the market, so he decided to ask a professor to help him in this case. For Charmeleon he bought a piece of high-grade charcoal and firestone for him to absorb. For Pidgeotto, he bought some meat and body parts of Ursaring to absorb. Apparently, a guy from Yoto found a corpse of a dead master-level Ursaring after a territorial war and decided to sell the corpses and the body parts in Kanto. Bagon was still absorbing the energy from the dragon fangs, so he didn't need anything. Even then he bought some low-quality dragon scales for him as everyone was getting something. Everything made a bill of around 400k poke dollars, but Aoki now had a lot of money to spare. I heard that there was a theme park called Pokemon Land with giant mechanic Pokemon on a small island a bit far from Vermilion City. Wanna go? Asked Aoki. Sure, I wanted to wear the new dress I bought, this seems a good occasion, Misty said. Aoki and Misty decided to reserve a boat for transport as the cruise cost a lot. There was also St. Anne, one of the largest ships in existence that traveled different routes across the ocean, but each ticket cost around 300k poke dollars. The next morning Aoki and Misty packed their belongings and boarded a medium-sized boat for them to travel. The boat had seats for 30 people, out of which 27 were already full. Most of them were children and their parents, while some were couples like Aoki and Misty. Normally Misty wore a dress that was made for traveling, but today she wore a dress that amplified her beauty more. But it was Aoki that attracted more attention with his looks and presence. Finally, 2 more people entered the boat, filling the total seats. One of them was a blonde-haired girl. Everyone's eyes were glued to the girl, including Aoki, but it was for a different reason for him. Did you develop a crush on her or something? I will not mind you hitting on her, said Misty. It's not that, felt like I have seen her somewhere before, said Aoki. Isn't that Cynthia? I had met with Professor Carolina earlier, she might have come to Kanto with her, he thought. Cynthia looked through the crowd as her gaze fell on Aoki. Seems like my trip wouldn't be boring after all, she thought as she went and sat beside Aoki. Hello, I am Cynthia, nice to meet you, she said extending her hand towards Aoki. Aoki shook her hand and introduced himself and Misty. Cynthia found Aoki and Misty interesting, so she investigated a bit and found out about the Junior Cup. Cynthia told them that she was from Sinnoh, making Misty fill her questions about the water Pokemon of that region. Aoki knew that Cynthia's grandmother was a well-known researcher of the Sinnoh region, as he had recently met her, but he never expected Cynthia to come here. The journey to the part was around 1h, so Misty and Cynthia became friends and talked a lot with Aoki joining in. Cynthia wanted to know more about Aoki while Misty happily provided. Finally, the boat reached the premise of the amusement park, which was around the size of a city. The name Pokemon Land was written in large letters around the gate of the park. Cynthia, why don't you enjoy with us today? Proposed Misty. Sure, why not? I would have been boring alone, Cynthia replied. There was something about Aoki that was attracting him, except for his looks and commanding ability. Misty seemed like a nice girl to be around too. Aoki bought a map and planned the route for visiting the entire park. For the first activity, they decided to see the main attraction of the park, i.e. the giant Pokemon. For that, a minibus was reserved which took them to the specific area. The very first Pokemon they saw was a building-size Pikachu running around, followed by a Charmander. Although they would look cute when they were normal-sized, but now they looked terrifying. The next was a giant Venusaur which was sleeping, and some Bulbasaurs played around it. There were some more giant Pokemon of the Kanto region, but the one that terrified the children the most was the giant Charizard. I remember this pack is owned by Team Rocket. It must generate a lot of funds for them, as everything is pretty pricey here. First of all, for a bit of fun, it was made as if the Charizard was following the bus like a monster and breathed a sea of flames enveloping the bus. The bus staff also acted as if they really were being chased by the Charizard. The flames were orange-colored gas which smelled very good. Children started bawling their eyes out seeing the Charizard. Well, that was fun, let's go to the cosplay center next, Cynthia suggested. The cosplay center was a large building with various costumes and cameras. Only Pokemon of a certain height was allowed to. Aoki took out Clefairy for her to try different makeups. Cynthia was delighted seeing a Clefairy and tried to hug her, as Clefairy didn't sense any malicious intent from Cynthia, so she allowed herself to be hugged. Moreover, Aoki was around her too. All three of them along with Clefairy tried different costumes and clicked a lot of photos. Misty tried various wigs, but her natural hair suited her the most. Aoki's favorite photo was him in a princess attire holding Clefairy while Misty kissed him in princess attire. Misty wanted to click some different types of photos, but that was not a suitable place for that. Clefairy was very happy to try out various types of makeup and costumes. Thank you, Master, I promise to train very hard, she said before getting into her Pokeball. Aoki bought some accessories for both Misty and Clefairy as they liked those quite a lot. Their next stop was the area where the main shops were present. The first shop they entered was an ice cream shop where the main workers were Lapras and two Blastoise making ice cream wearing a headband with the name of the shop. Cynthia bought some souvenirs to take back. The size rule applied everywhere in the park, so Aoki decided to take out Bagon too, while Misty took out her Starmie and Azumarill. Cynthia took out her Roserade, which along with Bagon got a lot of curious stares as they are upcoming in the Kanto region, but no one tried to create any trouble. Cynthia was presently surprised to see Aoki having a pseudo-legendary dragon Pokemon. Where did you get this Bagon, Aoki? Asked Cynthia, as there is no way a normal person can have Pokemons like Bagon. Aoki's vague answer didn't satisfy her, but she didn't ask more. There is something more to his identity, she thought. There was no way Aoki could explain his insane luck when he got the egg of Bagon. The sight of a dragon Pokemon eating ice cream was surprising for Cynthia, since she remembered the behavior of her dragon Pokemon towards ice cream. At first, Bagon avoided ice like anything, but after training to conquer his fear of ice types, he started liking ice creams. Aoki was surprised to see Cynthia eating 10 servings of ice cream in one go. The next stop was the amusement area, where there were various rides like roller coasters and water slides. They had lunch in a restaurant where the food was served by Meowths and watched a pool performance by dugongs and seals. They came earlier, so they got to have the front seat. The performance was similar to Cerulean City and gained a lot of appreciation. Humph. My Cerulean Gym does it a lot better, Misty made a face. Your Cerulean Gym? Cynthia asked. Her family owns the Cerulean Gym, Aoki replied. Splash. The seal jumped into the water, splashing a lot of water towards the audience, drenching Aoki. Misty burst out laughing while Cynthia made a small chuckle. Click. Misty clicked a photo to add to her embarrassing photo collection of Aoki. Sigh. Every time I get near a water Pokemon, they somehow find a way to splash water on me. Fortunately Aoki was wearing thick clothes so it didn't become transparent. He had already seen women giving him thirsty looks, so if that happened someone might even jump on him. Misty and Cynthia both understood those gazed that were subjected at Aoki. "Hey Misty, why do I feel like the more people stare at me you get happier?" Aoki whispered in her ears. "It feels great to know that I can have you to myself all I want, but they can only stare. Just keep doing what you are doing," Misty whispered back. After the performance, Aoki called out Charm Leon to help him dry his clothes. "Was he your starter?" Cynthia asked. "No, I met in my journey." Hearing the story of Charm Leon, she felt bad too. When they sat down to eat something, some guys tried to approach Misty and Cynthia to try their chances even after seeing the presence of Aoki, but they got a death glare from Charm Leon making them leave. In the evening, they reached an area that was made similar to battle stadiums for trainers to battle. "Aoki, let's have a battle," said Cynthia in anticipation. She was waiting for it the entire day. She knew her ace would end the battle in under a minute, so she wanted to use other Pokémon to test him out. "Sure, let's not use our strongest Pokémons," suggested Aoki as he wanted to see how he fares up against the future champion of Sinnoh. Chapter 53, A Friendly Battle. Shirana Cynthia, I have a dream. Ever since I was a kid, I had a dream of becoming someone people respected. Someone whose name alone is enough to solve issues, one of the most famous and influential people in the world. I was not interested in politics or spending hours reading books like a researcher, so my option was to become a Pokémon trainer. The day I received my starter at age 10, I knew that I had begun my journey towards my dreams. I fought and reached a level where I can proudly look down on other trainers. I can guarantee said that I am the strongest trainer of this generation who even gym leaders can't stand up to. The only challenge left is the Elite Four. Even if I have reached this stage, I seem to have forgotten the excitement I felt when I began my journey. The view at the top felt lonely, I started to feel empty. One day when I came to have some relaxation time in the Kanto region, I witnessed a scene that started to reignite my flames. A trainer fighting with all his might against a Pokémon that is way above his league. His Pokémon fell, but stood up again, his bright smile when won against the impossible. Aoki was his name. Although he was weak, I could not help but feel him equal to me. The excitement in me returned to see a trainer that has the potential to stand against me and even beat me. I wanted to fight him. Although meeting him was a coincidence, I don't regret it. Looking at him closely, he was very handsome and one of the few people that made the heartbeat of a girl like me with zero experience in relationships faster. There was something about him that made me feel safe even though we were meeting for the first time. After spending an entire day with him, I realized that I might have developed a crush on him. At first, I was dejected to know that he had a girlfriend, but seems like I had nothing to worry about as his girlfriend had no problem with me being around him. Before meeting him, I would have never had thoughts like this, but seems like some things have changed after meeting him. Finally, it was time for the thing I was waiting for since that day, a Pokémon battle against him. I am not going to use my ace as it would take away all the fun. I will be using another Pokémon who can feel my emotions and respond to them just like my starter. "Let's make this one-on-one," said Cynthia with a wide grin. "Sure, when did you start your journey again?" Cynthia asked Aoki. "I had my starter since I was 10, but I start collecting badges from this year as I want to challenge the Elite Four." "Oh? Seems like I will be fighting against an experienced trainer. Where does this Pokémon rank in your team?" "I believe he ranks the 4th out of the 6 Pokémon I currently have. Even if I started my journey this year, don't hold back or you might lose." "Haha, don't worry, I will not hold back." Misty decided to act as a referee and start the match. "Come out Nidorino. Nido. Take your stance Lucario." Kerr. A tall bipedal Pokémon in the shade of blue and black appeared in front of Cynthia. Nidorino's eyes shined with excitement seeing a master rank Pokémon to fight. Seems like she has assembled her champion team if this is her 4th strongest, thought Aoki. The Lucario attracted a lot of attention, so trainers and other people present there started watching the battle with excitement, while some even started recording. Although Nidorino was not very rare in Kanto, the size and deep color of the Nidorino attracted some attention too. Cynthia was surprised to see Aoki using Nidorino as she considered that Pokémon weak based on her observation from the fight against Gyarados. "Seems like he is underestimating me. It's been a while since someone did that." Lucario use Swords Dance. White swords formed from normal type energy revolved around Lucario, boosting his already high attack. Nidorino use focus energy and create some distance. Lucario dashed and reached in front of Nidorino with fighting type energy condensed in his fists. He could sense how excited Cynthia was to fight the trainer, so he will be giving his best. Due to calm mind training, the speed at which Nidorino can focus had become astounding, so focus energy was set up in a second. Nidorino, follow my commands and move your legs. With Aoki's commands, Nidorino was effortlessly dodging every attack or attacking back at the blind spots. Both the trainer and the Pokémon are in perfect sync, Cynthia thought as it shocked her a bit. Nidorino was careful not to take direct hits, as Lucario, in addition to being one rank ahead, had a monstrous attack and special attack stats. He had absolute trust in Aoki, so he knew no matter what the opponent used, Aoki will have a solution for that. Nidorino opened his mouth and fired an ice beam at Lucario, who was taken off guard by the speed of the attack, but he and his trainer were not normal people. Cynthia instantly issued a command to protect, followed by Aura Sphere. A translucent screen formed in front of Lucario, protecting him from the ice beam, and at the same time an orb made of aura and fighting type energy formed in the hands of Lucario, which shot towards Nidorino with a speed as if instantly teleport near him. Nidorino could not dodge in time and roll back while creating a coat of poison type energy to lessen the damage. As Lucario formed another Aura Sphere, Aoki gave his next command. Nidorino used Disable on Aura Sphere. The Aura Sphere Lucario was preparing was dissipated, in addition to him getting restricted from using that move for a certain duration. Impressive. Lucario, get close and use Power-Up Punch. Nidorino Poison Thrash. It was a combination of Thrash and Poison Jab. As Nidorino was using a poison coat, Lucario was guaranteed to get poisoned. Aoki could not let the Power-Up Punch get a good hit, as it would further increase their power of Lucario. Lucario dashed towards Nidorino and started punching him with an astounding speed. Nidorino fought back with Poison Thrash, Double Kick, etc. The only reason Nidorino was able to fight against Lucario in close combat was that Lucario was fighting only based on his instincts. Fighting Pokémons are born with an instinct that develops into a fighting style when they grow, but Lucario didn't have a proper fighting style yet. Nidorino was trained by Aoki in martial arts, so he has his own fighting style that used all of his body. Due to Nidorino fighting almost all the time with Aoki, he too had developed his instincts, making him similar to a fighting Pokémon. Abandoned Power-Up Punch, use close combat. Hearing this, the speed behind the punches increased so much that each punch became a blur that rained over the body of Nidorino. Nidorino cried out in pain but didn't give in to the pain and fired a sludge bomb, pushing Lucario back. Lucario cried in pain as he got poisoned due to all the poison that was being released by Nidorino. Nidorino snap out and use Water Pulse. Nidorino applied force in his legs and dashed backward, fire shooting rings of water toward Lucario. Lucario didn't let the water hit him and punched the water, destroying the attack, but that is what Aoki aimed for. Nidorino used Thunderbolt. Yellow lightning sparked around the horn of Nidorino and hit Lucario, who didn't dodge at the right time. Lucario took massive damage due to the Thunderbolt that hit him over the water that was spilled over his body from punching the Water Pulse. Lucario stand up and use Shadow Ball Barrage. Black orbs of ghost-type energy formed in the hands of Lucario that were aimed at Nidorino. The speed of formation of the Shadow Ball was not slower than the Aura Sphere. Nidorino dodges and uses a Frozen Poison Beam. Nidorino and Lucario ran all over the battlefield, showering ranged attacks at each other. Although Lucario took damage but not so much due to his rank, Nidorino took a lot of damage. Aoki tried as much as he could to lessen the damage, but still, Lucario was too fast. How is this Nidorino still holding on? Exclaimed Cynthia in her mind. Even after taking so much damage from a Pokémon way stronger than it, Nidorino refused to give up and kept bringing up more power. She had never seen a trainer so skilled as Aoki who could make this Pokémon stand up against Lucario for so long. Boom! Lucario cried out in pain as the combination of Water Pulse and Thunderbolt hit him, dealing damage. Lucario was constantly taking damage due to poison. That was not enough. Lucario's speed was getting slower due to the paralysis effect of lightning attacks. Cynthia had a wide smile, even though her master rank Lucarian could lose any moment. This is the excitement I wanted, the fear of losing, the fear of making a mistake, the ability of the opponent to make me sweat and have my full concentration in battle. I am so loving this. Let's finish the match, Aoki. Lucario Bone Rush. A white bone-like structure formed in his hands and he swung at Nidorino like a sword. Nidorino Horn Attack. The horn of Nidorino glowed with normal-type energy that clashed with the bone, creating sparks. The battle was so intense that everyone who was watching didn't even blink in fear of missing any scene. Nidorino Poison Missile. The spikes on the back of Nidorino shot out like missiles and hit Lucario, who could not dodge as he was very close. These were toxic spikes that were tuned to a degree that would now launch them similar to missiles. Nidorino, let's end this, use horn attack. This is bad, Lucario will lose if this hits, I have to take a gamble on this move as it is not complete yet. Nidorino kicked the ground and became a spear that was ready to tear apart Lucario, who was on his knees due to the pain, but just as Nidorino was a few centimeters away from him, Cynthia commanded Lucario psychic. Aoki's eyes widened hearing her, but it was too late to act. The horn of Nidorino touched Lucario, while at the same time psychic energy that burst out from Lucario hit Nidorino. Boom! A shockwave was created from the attack, which made both the Pokémons crash at the two ends of the battlefield. Both the Pokémons cried out in pain and tried to stand up, but both of them fell at the same time. Both Pokémons are unable to battle, the match is a draw, announced Misty. Damn, this woman is insane. I will be glad if someone strong and beautiful like her is around, Aoki, Misty thought with a slight blush. She quickly controlled her smile not to look weird, but Aoki had already seen the face she was making and somewhat guess her thoughts. Before Aoki and Cynthia could say anything, the noise of claps and cheers entered their ears. They were so focused on the battle that they didn't even notice the huge audience that was watching their match. The audience didn't care if either of the Pokémon won or made a draw, what made them so excited was the battle itself, which was very thrilling. Every second of the battle felt important as the advantage kept shifting between the two Pokémon. At one moment it felt as if Lucario had an advantage, but the next second Nidorino reserved the situation. People started to see Nidorino in a new light too after this battle. Aoki and Cynthia towards their Pokémon after spraying some portions. Good job. It's okay that you tied today, but you have to win when it matters, said Aoki. Thanks for the battle, it was very fun, said Cynthia as she shook his hand. I knew it, he is someone who can change my life, she thought. She had not regretted not being the winner as she gained something more important. She knew that her Lucario was stronger than Nidorino, but Aoki's commanding capabilities were above her. Same for me, it was very enjoyable, said Aoki. Although Aoki was a bit disappointed, it served as a crucial experience for him as his Pokémon. Aoki looked at the sky that was slightly dark and said, who wants some barbecue? Me. X2. Asterisk. After a long day of fun, they sat down on the boat to get back to Vermilion City. Hey, Cynthia, let's exchange numbers, said Misty. She had a lot of fun with Cynthia and her response seemed like that too. Sure, I wanted to ask you to that too, Cynthia said cheerfully. Misty raised her eyebrows seeing Cynthia's smile as she knew what it meant. Chapter 54, Gifts for Pokémon. The eyes of millions of people were glued to the TV and other broadcast stations as Professor Gunhilder, who was famous for discovering so many EV evolutions, had discovered something new that he was going to announce. The craze of the evolutions had not yet slowed down when Professor Gunhilder was ready with another major announcement. This interview was being held at one of the offices of the Researcher Alliance, from where it was broadcasted all over the world. The interview began with Professor Gunhilder giving a short speech, after which he released two Pokémon in front of the camera. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you the two alternate evolutions of the Slowpoke line and Poliwag line, Slowking and Polite. The world went into an uproar seeing the two new evolutions. The line of Slowpoke was not famous among the trainers due to how lazy Slowpokes were, but the Poliwag was pretty famous among the trainers. Poliwhirl, after evolving to Poliwrath, becomes more of a fighting type Pokémon than a water Pokémon, so after hearing the power of Politoed, a lot of people owning a Poliwhirl or Poliwag rejoiced. Moreover, the cute appearance of the Politoed captured the hearts of many people too. People who prefer psychic type Pokémon, especially in the area around Saffron City, paid a lot of attention to Slowking. Slowking after evolution attained the power of human speech like some psychic Pokémon after they reach master rank or above. Although the methods of evolving them were very difficult, they gave trainers and their Pokémons more choice. Aoki had already gotten enough fame from the previous discoveries, so, after the discovery of two more evolution, he got around 2 million Poke dollars from the League and Researcher Alliance. More money was going to enter his pocket when trainers find that the amount of King's Rock in the market was very few. After this incident, it was a bit difficult to keep his identity a total secret, so some people of the Researcher Alliance that Professor Oak trusted met with Aoki. All the researchers were very happy and amazed to see someone so young discover so many evolutions. Cynthia watched the interview of Professor Oak on the ship which was going back to the Sinnoh region. I wonder who this Professor Gunhilder is. I am grateful to him as my Eevee who didn't want to evolved into an Umbreon after seeing how cool that looked. I could see you in some photos too. Did you meet Professor Gunhilder? She said to her grandmother who was sitting beside her. Yes, I met him during the recording of the video. We had some discussions over the call too, as his way of thinking gave me some new ideas. I watched the video of your match, you Lucario fought well, Professor Carolina said. I know, Cynthia replied. I had some doubts regarding the match. Since your research is based on Pokemon typings, you should be able to clarify it. What is it? Professor asked. If steel types are immune to poison types, how did my Lucario get poisoned? It has never happened before. Cynthia asked. So, you came across this phenomenon too. The immunities of one type to another are not absolute. It is known in theory that ground types are immune to electric types, steel to poison, ghost to fighting, etc., but that is not relevant all the time. If the power of the move and effect reaches a certain level, they start to ignore the immunity. With his being a thing, even electric types can damage ground type Pokemon. I have seen with my own eyes a fighting type Pokemon beating a ghost type Pokemon with purely fighting type moves which seem to be impossible on paper. In the case of your battle, the poison used by Nidorino was toxic to such a level that it ignored the immunity of your Lucario against poison type. So that is what happened. I am still confused as to how his Nidorino had such a strong poison even if the energy I sensed from him was very less from my Lucario. I had never heard or seen a Nidorino that had such a level of toxic poison. For that answer, you have to ask Professor Gunhilder. Professor Carolina said with a smile. Why would I ask Professor Gunhilder instead of Aoki, who the Nidorino belonged to? The boy you spend your entire day with at the park and fought against is Professor Gunhilder. I thought he told you. Hearing this, Cynthia's eyes widened with shock. Asterisk. Midnight somewhere in Vermilion City. Aoki was sitting in an auction house on the black market. He was wearing black sunglasses and wearing a wig that turned his hair blonde along with a fake beard. The auction had various things from items to Pokemon corpses. After bidding, Aoki bought a grass-type orb made from the corpse of a master-level Venusaur, a flying orb made from the corpse of a master-level Dodrio, a horn, and a bottle of the poison of a master-level Nidoqueen, some blood from elite-level Psychic and Fire Pokemon, some more intermediate orbs, etc. He also bought some T.MS like Hyper Beam, Giga Impact, Fire Blast, Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, and Blizzard. He also bought some items requested by Misty. All the items cost around 800k Poke dollars, but they would give a huge boost to his Pokemon, so he didn't mind. If not for the research papers, he would not be able to afford such expenditure. After taking all the items from the auction house, Aoki entered an alley and stopped. What do you want? He said coldly to the person that stood behind him. Give me all the items and Pokemon you have, said the man who called out a Scizor. And if I say I am not interested, what will you do? You give me no other choice, Scizor, kill him. As Scizor was about to move, his entire body was pressed on the floor with huge gravitational force. Scizor could feel his hard armor getting cracked by the intense gravity. What did you do, bastard? From the moment you came from my life, you should have prepared to lose yours too, said Aoki coldly. From his belt, came out Clefairy, who instantly snapped the man's hand, breaking it. The man could not even scream as his mouth was blocked. Clefairy, snap his neck, we don't need him anymore. Clefairy did what Aoki asked and returned beside him. Nobody messes with my master. Humph. Good job, Clefairy, I will give you a gift when we go back. Yay. Aoki picked up the Pokeball of Scizor and called him back. Scizor had completely lost his spirit after seeing his master getting killed, so he didn't put up any resistance. He checked if the guy had any other Pokemon, but his pockets were empty except for a purse which had an ID of a fraction and some money. The ID is of a genuine fraction, this can be useful. Aoki took the money and left the area along with the Pokeball away from the now dead attacker. The last thing he did was click pictures of the man from various angles, especially his face. He would have stayed a bit more, but Aoki knew more people were following him. The black market was a place not specifically on a map that sold all sorts of things from exotic Pokemon to even humans. A person's safety is not guaranteed in the black market. If Aoki was not strong enough, he could have died. But the situation was reversed because he was strong. Aoki entered another store that seemed shadier than the others. What do you need, dear customer? I am here to sell an ID and pictures of the user. You have come to the right place, customer, please come inside the office. Aoki submitted the ID and all the pictures of the man he had taken a while ago, for which he got around 10k poke dollars. The shop he entered was a shop that made skin face masks to change appearance. The fake ID creation of some fractions is not easy, so people steal someone's real ID and make a fake face mask to take away their identity. In fact, a lot of the faces Aoki saw in the black market are not even their real faces but fake faces. But if a person gets close, he can make out if it's a mask or not. The best way to hide someone's face was to use the Pokemon Ditto, but those were considered even rarer than dragon Pokemons. Next, he went to a shop to sell the Scizor that he took from the attacker and got around 150k for the intermediate rank Scizor. After getting his job done, Aoki entered another dark ally where stood Alazakam. He handed the Pokemon 8k poke dollars and said, "Teleport me back." The Alakazam nodded and enveloped Aoki with psychic-type energy, teleporting him to a rundown shop on the outskirts of Vermilion City. "Thank you for your patronage," said an old man in shabby clothes who was the shopkeeper. As he came back to the hotel, he was hugged by Misty. "Is going to such a dangerous place necessary? Do you know how worried I was?" "It's fine, Misty, I have to take risks if I want to make my Pokemon strong. Clefairy was there to protect me, right?" he said by planting a kiss on her forehead. After calming her down, Aoki gave Misty some items that he brought. Misty gave a water orb to her Azumarill to absorb, a water stone to Horsa, the blood of psychic Pokemon to Starmie and Slowpoke. Aoki had given her a Dragon Fang for Gyarados, which she decided to use the next day. It's not that Misty was leeching off Aoki's money, all the items she received were from her wallet. Aoki first called out Clefairy and gave her blood of the psychic Pokemon, the orb, and the TM for Shadow Ball. Charmeleon was given the blood, Fire-type orb, and TM for Hyper Beam. Pidgeotto was given the Flying-type orb to absorb along with the TM for Giga Impact, Bagon the trademark of Fire Blast and Thunderbolt, Nidorino the Horn and Poison Orb, Liquid Poison, and TM Blizzard, lastly Weepinbell the Grass-type orb. All of them were to increase the potential of his Pokemon and increase their energy pool and effectiveness. Not all Pokemon were born equally. Some were born with terrifying potential like his Bagon, while some were born with normal potential like his Weepinbell. So Aoki did more investments in the Pokemon with the lower talent to bring them to a higher level. Bagon was already absorbing the Dragon Fang, so he didn't need anything new. His Pokemon also understood his effort and worked hard to fully utilize the items Aoki gave them. Aoki and Misty planned to give their Pokemon another day to absorb the items some more and then set out for the next destination, which was Lavender Town. They were already in Vermilion City for 3 weeks. "I forgot to mention," Cynthia called, complaining that "Why didn't you reveal your identity?" said Misty. Her grandma must have told her, ignore her complaints for now. After spending a day together, Cynthia had become good friends with Aoki and Misty. They even exchanged contact information to keep in touch. Unfortunately, Cynthia had to leave as her vacation was over. Aoki and Misty were there at the port to bid her farewell and promised to visit her in Sinnoh. Chapter 55, The Red Gyarados and Nidorino's Resolve. Aoki and Misty set out on their journey towards Flannery City the next day. They were taking a route to Saffron City, which had Flannery City and Lavender Town in them. Every major town and city in Kanto was connected by a direct road that had minimal wild Pokemon, but Aoki and Misty would not gain anything going by those roads. There was an airport present in every city that had a service of airbuses and airplanes to travel from one city to another. There was also a railway system available along with the safe roads. Saffron City had the largest hub for trains and flying vehicles. Saffron City is the largest city in the Kanto region with the main hub of many large corporations like Sylph Co. This city has 2 gyms, one is the official psychic-type gym that trainers avoid like the plague, while the other one is an official fighting-type gym that is also a dojo. There are different battle clubs in Saffron City that have professionals to guide trainers in battle. The Lavender Town they were going to has the largest Pokemon graveyard. The town is always enveloped in fog and a gloomy mood. Aoki could go to Saffron City directly from Vermilion City, but they decided to take a detour from Lavender Town to train their Pokemon and more exploration. Finally, the city they were going was one of the fastest growing cities in the Kanto region. This is because of the presence of one of the biggest hospitals in the Kanto region along with the new official fire-type gym. While Aoki and Misty were walking, wild Pokemons were avoiding them like a plague as a Gyarados was flying beside Misty. Yes, finally Misty's Gyarados had learned to fly, which cancelled out the problem with its mobility to fight outside water. The maximum height it can fly currently is only 3 meters, but that's already a big achievement. On the head of Gyarados sat Clefairy wearing sunglasses, enjoyed herself. Out of all the Pokemons, Gyarados has the best friendship with Clefairy as both of them are females. It's also a fact that all of Aoki's Pokémon can defeat the Gyarados. After walking for around 5 kilometers from Vermilion, they set up a camp releasing all their Pokémon. As the amount of food being consumed has increased due to larger energy needs, Aoki's Pokémons too have started helping in making the food. Misty sat on her Gyarados and commanded her to fly towards the ocean for training and promised to return by nightfall. Aoki turned towards Clefairy, Bagon, and Nidorino and said it's time and released the 14m tall red Gyarados from his Pokeball. The red Gyarados immediately tried to gulp down Bagon after coming out of the Pokeball, but Bagon fired a fire blast in the mouth of the Gyarados while Clefairy held him with Psychic. It was time to start the process of making Gyarados submit to him. He was already informed that the Gyarados had some problem with his mind, so he did not take him out yet. Aoki remembered that there was a red Gyarados in the Lake of Rage in the Johto region which was experimented with by a Team Rocket. He suspected that his Gyarados was the same as, along with abnormal size, the Gyarados' new moves which could only be learned by TM for this species. Each of you will take turns to fight the Gyarados till he cannot stand anymore. Now begin. The current Gyarados was uncontrollable, so Aoki wanted to try to conquer him with various methods which included food and lots of talks. Charmeleon, Weepinbell, and Pidgeotto did their own training nearby while keeping an eye in case of emergency. After absorbing the items Aoki gave them, they have received a temporary increase in their strength which they have to work hard to make permanent. They are now in Master rank, where Pokémon need to work extremely hard if they want to reach Elite rank. It also depends upon the potential of the individual Pokémon that Aoki always tried to increase with items and food. Pidgeotto was tasked with getting familiar with Giga Impact and mastering Hyper Beam along with increasing his speed. Weepinbell was tasked with decreasing the recharge time of Solar Beam and Hyper Beam. After that, increase mastery over Vine Whip. Aoki wanted Weepinbell to master the Vine Whip to such a level that he could create large wooden statues like a certain anime character. Charmeleon was tasked to increase the sharpener in his claws and increase the Dragon-type energy usage and master Flare Blitz more. Aoki always chose a spot where there was less vegetation because of the destruction his Pokémons caused while training. Aoki during the training time sometimes trained his Pokémon and sometimes left them to decide their own course of action to let them make appropriate moves in his absence or when commands can't reach them. Today's training was one such instance where Aoki left them to make independent decisions while he will only command if things are out of hand. Against Red Gyarados, Nidorino was the first one to fight as he felt like his worth was decreased after losing to Lucario. Although the match was tied, it was unacceptable to him. Nidorino wanted to prove himself, so he fought more fiercely than normal but still lost. No matter what he did, the Gyarados was still strong. The Ice Beam and Brine of the Red Gyarados did a lot of damage to him. Nidoking was fast, but the speed at which Gyarados moved as used his moves surpassed his speed by a lot. A hydro pump struck Nidorino, making him crash into the ground, forming a crater. His head felt dizzy with his vision getting blurred. Gyarados opened his mouth and tried using Crunch, but at that moment everything seemed to have slowed down for Nidorino. In his vision came the indifferent eyes of Aoki and Charmeleon, who watched the battle. What am I even doing? The words of Aoki revolved in his head. I shall give you the opportunity to become strong, but you can only become strong if you have the will to become strong. Stand up, if you fall you die, keep moving forward till there are no more opponents in front of you. It's okay that you lost today, but don't lose when it matters. I will not give up, I will prove myself that I am not weak, I shall live up to his expectations. I will defeat this monster to show everyone that I am strong. Determination burst out within Nidorino. As if reacting to his determination, the ground under Gyarados burst out and hit Gyarados with dense ground-type energy which caused a large explosion. Is that earth power? Aoki was shocked to see Nidorino use earth power, but proud at the same time. Taking the chance, Nidorino fired a close-range thunderbolt and along with horn attack, dealing more damage on top of the damage from earth power. That's enough, Nidorino, let the others fight now, Aoki commanded. You will injure yourself if you attack now, take a break then continue. After Nidorino, it was the turn of Bagon to fight, who did a little worse than Nidorino but still commendable as Bagon was a lot younger than Nidorino. Finally, it was the turn of Clefairy, who did better than the two of them and skillfully fought against Gyarados with Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, Ice Beam, Psychic, and Gravity. Due to being at Master rank, Gyarados had a lot of energy, so the battle almost went on for 3 hours before Gyarados fell down tired. The condition of the three of them was worse than the Gyarados, so Clefairy used to work a little harder with Heal Pulse. Aoki made Clefairy open the mouth of Gyarados and stuff some healthy food along with some portions. As Gyarados swallowed the food, he felt as if one of the things that he craved for was complete, but he didn't express it. Aoki came near the face of the Gyarados and looked him in the eye. I am your trainer, you will listen to my every command, if you do that I will give you a lot of tasty food, take care of your health, give you a family and ultimately make you strong. Aoki made some more talk about his Pokemon while Gyarados just stared at him with anger in his eyes. Still, Gyarados was not ready to listen to any humans as his painful memories of being tortured and experimented on since he was a Magikarp was still fresh. Even after today's fight, he didn't feel much pain due to developing high pain tolerance. He was still furious at Aoki for separating him from his group as he felt like he finally got his freedom. The memories of Aoki helping to capture his friends resurfaced, which made Gyarados fume with anger. He opened his mouth wide and tried to bite Aoki, but with a flash of red light, he was called back into his Pokeball. Still a tough nut to crack, muttered Aoki as he handed the Pokeball to Clefairy. Next time, try using psychic powers and try if you can see through his memories and tell me everything, please. Yes, master. Aoki stopped the training of all his Pokemon and gave them a message as he did every day while praising them for their effort. Aoki especially praised Nidorino for learning Earth power by himself and pushing himself to his limits. With the help of Clefairy, Aoki talked with his Pokemon for some time before Misty came back. Why are you so late? It's already night, asked Aoki. Well, I found a small island which I started to explore and forgot about the time, said Misty. Did you find something interesting? Although I only explored the shore, I got us these. Her Gyarados opened her mouth and a large number of coconuts and fruits were dropped. Aoki became excited seeing so many coconuts. Okay guys, today we will have coconut special dinner. Yay! Chapter 56, Inhabitant Island. The next morning Aoki recalled Gyarados, who immediately tried to swallow Aoki but got a dragon claw in the face from Charmeleon. Last day we made Gyarados battle his weaker Pokemons, but today he made his stronger Pokemon battle him without his command. Charmeleon, Weepinbell, and Pidgeotto fought against the Gyarados for almost 1 hour individually, but all three of them lost. But if brushed away the overconfidence they had after reaching master rank. The result was expected as Gyarados surpassed all of them in terms of energy, defense, and attack power. What shocked Aoki the most was the monstrous stamina the Gyarados had. Aoki kept recording and noting every behavior of the Gyarados. Till now he had found that the Gyarados had poor control over his powers as the power behind the same moves varied a lot. The defense of Gyarados was abnormally high. He also noticed that the Gyarados was adjusting himself against Aoki's Pokemon as if seeing through their weakness, like using heavy attacks against Pidgeotto or fast attacks against Weepinbell. Charmeleon was an all-rounder, so Gyarados could not find a strategy against him yet. Weepinbell with Aoki's command released strong sleeping power and paralysis poison while Aoki stuffed a lot of tasty food and medicine into Gyarados' mouth. But today a strange thing happened after Aoki stuffed food into the mouth of Gyarados. He didn't try to gobble up Aoki. I don't know what happened to you before, but now that you are my Pokemon, I am always there to help you. If you listen to my commands, I can make you stronger and give you a life that you a better life. Aoki said softly, patting the scales of Gyarados. Gyarados ignored Aoki with a growl and closed his eyes. Sigh, fine. Aoki called back Gyarados into his Pokemon. Master, I felt that his emotions changed a bit when you said those words. He will surely listen to you soon. Clefairy's voice rang inside Aoki's head. I hope you are right, Clefairy. So what do we do today? Asked Misty. Both of them took some time off from training and relaxed on the beach. For going to the next town we either have to take a ship or use our Pokemon to cross the ocean, but I want to explore the wild a bit more. We can go to the Diglett Cave east from here or explore the island I found yesterday. The island sounds good, let's relax for a while then we will leave, Aoki said. All of their Pokemon were released out of their Pokeballs except Red Gyarados. Misty's Gyarados and Starmie were having a swimming competition, Weepinbell, Politoed, and Azumarill were busy building a sand castle. Horsa was swimming normally and munching on poke blocks while Slowpoke was trying to catch Magikarps with his tail as Aoki decided to cook Magikarps for lunch. Gyarados ate everything, even Magikarps, so Aoki had no problem cooking. Pidgeotto and Nidorino were sleeping under the shade. Finally, Charmeleon, Clefairy, and Bagon were laying on the sand while wearing sunglasses. After a satisfying lunch, Aoki and Misty set off towards the island riding on the back of Gyarados. It took almost 2 hours to reach the island as it was quite far from the shore. Aoki looked at the map in his Pokédex and found that there was not supposed to be any island in this place. I think the island has become a little smaller than yesterday, Misty said. It may be a moving island, that is why it's not on the map, said Aoki. The shore of the island was filled with palm and date trees. Aoki called out Clefairy while Misty called out Slowpoke, who had a teleportation marker on the mainland. They started moving deep into the forest, which had a lot of fruit trees which are pretty expensive. There were a lot of giant pillars of rock, making Aoki wonder what those were. "Wow, there are many fruits here," said excited Misty as she picked up a lot of them, putting them in her bag. The island had a lot of swamps, so both of their clothes got dirty. Aoki was observing every plant and tree and found that a lot of them were wet, but there was no rain in the last few days. There was a lot of moss everywhere, as if the place was in contact with water for a long time. They explored the island till it was midnight while collecting different rare fruits, but there was something at the center of the island that left both of them flabbergasted. It was a tall tree that had 4 purple fruits with small thorns all over its body. "Aoki, are you thinking the same thing as I am thinking?" said Misty, reaching the tree. "Yes, it's the dragon fruit. Each of them starts from 5 million poke dollar in the market." Aoki could not believe that he saw seeing such fruit in the wild. The dragon fruit is one of the most expensive fruits on the market that can give a massive boost to the overall strength, potential, and energy of Pokemon having a dragon-type bloodline. They could earn quite a fortune by selling them, but decided against it and decided to feed their Pokemon, as that was more important. 20 million was very tempting, but the boost that their Pokemon would receive would be worth the money. After eating the fruits, their Pokemons will be out of commission for at least 2 weeks due to adjusting to the change they will be going through. There were 4 fruits, so they decided to take 2 for each other. As soon as they plucked the fruits, the plant started to dry and completely died within a few seconds. Aoki gave one to Charmeleon and the other to Bagon. "Let's meet after 2 weeks, guys." Aoki patted both of their heads as his 2 Pokemon fell asleep after eating the fruit. Misty too gave one to Horsa while the other to Gyarados. Aoki pulled Misty and locked his lips with hers. "Thanks for finding this island, Misty." Yeah, the gain was unexpected," said Misty, still under the effect of pleasure from the kiss, but their moment of intimacy was broken by something. A mini earthquake shook the entire island, making Aoki and Misty lose their balance and fall to the ground. "Lay!" A loud cry of a Pokemon rang out from every direction of the island, which if heard from a distance could be said melodious, but for Aoki and Misty, it was torture to their eyes. The earthquake intensified as the island started sinking. "Clefairy, use gravity and lift all of us in the air." Clefairy's eye glowed as she, Aoki, Misty, and Slowpoke began floating in the air. From the air what they saw made their mouth open wide. From one end of the small island came out a blue head followed by whale-like limbs and a tail. Seeing this, Aoki finally connected the dots as to what the stone pillars were. The island on which they were enjoying so far was not an island but the shell of a gigantic Lapras whose size could rival the Dragonite they saw in the lighthouse. "Why are so many gigantic Pokemons appearing on the surface, if they're going to be a war among the Titans?" exclaimed Misty. The Lapras under the moonlight gave another cry and dived into the water, giving rise to a large wave of around 20 m. "Slowpoke, teleport, it might be bad if we stay here for long," Aoki said with urgency. Slowpoke nodded and used teleport to transfer everyone to the mainland. "Huff, that was scary," said Misty as he was clearly shaken by the appearance of such a large Pokemon. "Hope that we didn't steal its treasure or it might come after us." Don't scare me, my heartbeat hasn't got to normal yet," Misty exclaimed. Chapter 57, Maiden's Peak. The next morning Aoki and Misty decided to take a boat to the next city, as Misty's Gyarados, which was their main means of transport in water, was currently out of service. Surely Pidgeotto, due to her size and power, could carry Aoki, but it would have been very uncomfortable. The harbor they were supposed to take the boat was about 10 kilometers, so they decided to use their bicycle. "Misty, let's take the boat to Maiden's Peak, I heard that there would be a festival going to be held from tomorrow," suggested Aoki. "That seems a nice idea. If we take that route we have to go through Flannery City," said Misty. "I heard that the unofficial gym in that city was going to be converted into an official gym. I read that too in my Pokédex, it's going to be a fire-type gym," Aoki said. Flannery City was one of the cities that went under large transformation in the last 5 years. The first reason was that it was near to the coast, so there were a lot of business opportunities. The second was the presence of an official fire-type gym. The third was the largest nurse training center being built there a few years ago. The official fire-type gym at Cinnabar Island rarely takes any gym challenge, and the people who challenged the gym refused to say anything, so trainers go to the gym in Flannery City to challenge a fire-type gym leader. While Aoki was paddling his bike, Clefairy was floating alongside him while trying to create an orb of fairy-type energy between her palms. Last night when Misty was sleeping soundly in her tent, Aoki and Clefairy were having a discussion. Clefairy, you must have observed that when you use moves like a charm, misty terrain, or disarming voice, you subconsciously use a different type of energy alongside the normal type of energy. Clefairy nodded in agreement. I have observed that your strength has stagnated since we reached Vermilion City. Yes, master, no matter what I did, I found that my power would not grow any longer. From today onwards, forget about any other training and only focus on manifesting that energy by creating an orb like you do with Shadow Ball. Why, master? I call that energy fairy type energy. I think that your main type is fairy due to you using those moves subconsciously. If you can harness that energy, that will help you increase your powers. You think I am a fairy, master? Yes, you are a little fairy, Aoki said, petting Clefairy as she snuggled against his arm. I also have a way to increase the power of Shadow Ball. Normally you just condense a ball of ghost type energy to attack, now try compressing and adding rotation to it. I know these two tasks would be insanely difficult, but if you want to become stronger, you have to do it. I will do it, master. Back to the present, Aoki and Misty reached the harbour and booked themselves a small speedboat to reach Maiden's Peak. The person who was supposed to take them was an old fisherman who shared some stories about his youth with them. Aoki and Misty were dropped at Maiden's Peak after a journey of 1 hour. Last night Aoki had given Professor Oak the footage of the gigantic lapras diving into the water. Currently, in the lab of Professor Oak, 3 people were having a meeting. They were Professor Oak, Bill, and the Dragon-type elite trainer and the current champion of the Kanto region, Lance. So this is the data we have compiled till now, said Bill as he handed a document to Lance. Like Bill, Lance has also known Professor Oak since he was a child, so they had a good relationship. The matter of their discussion was related to the sighting of the 2 gigantic Pokémon that could seriously affect the environment. It seems like Aoki's Hollow Earth theory is becoming true, said Professor Oak, who watched the footage of the lapras and the island on repeat. After Aoki and Misty left the lighthouse a few weeks ago, the Dragonite came to visit Bill a few times more before going back to his slumber. This gave Bill to conduct various research, one of which indicated that a special type of energy was present inside Dragonite that allowed him to grow to such a height. Most of the things when it comes to Pokemon are related to energy, Oak said. The energy released by the Dragonite is somewhat similar to that of the 3 legendary birds that I collected samples from when Red was in possession of them. Oak pulled out a chart to show the similarity. This energy is something that makes a legendary stronger than normal species and their long life. Is this what is called life force, Professor? Bill asked. Correct. What separates most species of Pokemon from one another is the power of their life force they are born with, but the exceptions are pseudo-legendaries as they attain their true power at their last evolution. I see. Now time for my report, Lance said, attracting the attention of the other 2. There was a private investigation done by Lance with the advice of Oak, in which he found that there were several large cracks under the ocean with very high gravitation force and water pressure that would crush even an elite Pokemon to a paste or critically injure a champion-level Pokemon. His ace Pokemon was injured during the investigation, so the matter had to be taken seriously. I think that something big is going to happen for such titans to come to the surface, said Oak, looking outside the window. Hope that it doesn't come to that, said Lance with a grim face, while Bill agreed with him. No need to tell the Elite Four about this, keep an eye on Team Rocket as they seem to have toned down their activity. That is not good, Oak said to Lance. Chapter 58, Festival at Maiden's Peak. Maiden's Peak was a small town near the coast but pretty famous around Kanto. After reaching Maiden's Peak, Aoki and Misty were surprised by the sheer amount of decoration and stalls that were being set up. Both of them had no idea why the festival took place, so they asked some of the locals. An old couple pointed at the tallest cliff near the coast and said, "See that statue of the women over there? Some say that it was a woman who turned into stone after waiting for the return of her lover who went on a journey. There used to be a village in this area ages ago in which the lover was very loved. So when that person was about to start his journey, a celebration was held for him. Since then every year a large festival takes place for 2 days in honor of the woman who kept waiting for her lover and the lover who chased his dreams." Misty and Aoki felt very touched after hearing that story. "You'll not leave me, right?" Misty asked. "What are you talking about?" "Of course, I am not leaving you. If I leave you, who will date my tomboy sweetheart?" said Aoki, laughing. A tick mark appeared on her forehead. Was the second part necessary, hey? Misty growled at Aoki, making Aoki laugh louder. Seeing this, the old couple remembered their youth while a smile bloomed on their face. After teasing Misty for a while, Aoki tried searching for a hotel for them to stay in. He found that almost all hotels were already booked, making him search for an empty hotel till evening. Finally, he found one with a small room. They did nothing at night as they had already bought the clothes that they were supposed to wear to the festival beforehand. The next evening the festival began with a round of fireworks. The streets were filled with people and Pokémon enjoying themselves and dancing to the rhythm which was being played all over the festival. Even in such a crowd, two people always managed to gain the attention of the onlookers. They were Misty and Aoki, who wore a yukata and a kimono respectively. When Aoki saw Misty in a kimono, he was stunned by how beautiful she looked, while it was the same for Misty. They walked towards different stalls holding each other's hands while Clefairy followed behind them while munching on something new. Clefairy too gained a lot of attention, especially from children. Some men tried hitting on Misty in spite of Aoki being there, but got a death glare from Clefairy, sending chills down their spine. There were people from the police force all around who controlled the crowd and maintained safety. It was nice seeing Growliths and Arcanines in festival overcoats. In such a festival pickpocketing was common, but Aoki was not worried as Clefairy was with him. Aoki and Misty tried different food which was not normally available in the market. There were a lot of games like balloon shooting, memory games, ring throwing, fishing, etc., giving out prizes if won. In these games, Aoki manages to win a fancy watch while Misty won a small doll set which she liked very much. Aoki remembered the anime episode where Ghastly appeared, but he was not much interested in that Pokémon. In one part of the festival, there was a group of Jigglypuffs singing while a group of Pikachu joined and danced around them. Fortunately, the Jigglypuffs were singing a normal melody or the entire festival would have gone to sleep. Misty and Aoki reached the hotel by 2 AM, but it was not the end for them. The moonlight entered through the window and fell on two couples were about to indulge in an act of intimacy. Misty removed all her clothing one by one in front of Aoki. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Aoki asked. "I am sure, this is the best moment possible." Chapter 59, Flannery City. The sun's rays fell on the face of Aoki, who woke up from his sleep. He found that Misty was snuggling to his chest, still asleep. Aoki traced his finger across the smooth skin of Misty's back, making her snuggle closer. "Wake up, Misty, we have to leave," Aoki softly whispered softly. 5 minutes more." "Fine." Aoki covered her naked body with the blanket and took a quick shower before starting to pack their things. Misty woke up after half an hour, still dazed after the last night's experience. "Good morning, Misty," asked Aoki as he saw her stretch her body. "Like what you see?" teased Misty, giving a pose. "Of course. Did you enjoy last night?" he asked. "Overwhelming." Misty walked towards the bathroom, but in a funny way, almost tripping, making Aoki proud of himself. They didn't leave their hotel the rest of the day as they had already enjoyed the festival. Moreover, Misty needed some time to recover. The next morning, they set out towards their destination. The distance from Maiden's Peak to Flannery City was around 20 kilometers if they took the direct road almost free from wild Pokémon, or 35 kilometers if they took the wild route. And of course, they took the wild route to train their Pokémon. Misty's Starmie was about to reach master rank, so she battled every wild Pokémon on the way. Clefairy continued to improve her Shadow Ball and Fairy-type energy manifestation. The fight with Gyarados continued every day, with there being some noticeable changes in Gyarados. Aoki felt like Gyarados was purposely not listening to him as Clefairy. He verified that Gyarados has no malice towards Aoki anymore. Gyarados had also started to enjoy the battle rather than trying to kill or eat Aoki's Pokémons. After the battle, Aoki gave instructions to every Pokémons to copy Clefairy and start creating a ball of energy with rotation with their respective energy types. It was of normal difficulty for Weepinbell as he already knew Energy Ball, but it was very difficult for others. So Aoki gave Pidgeotto and Nidorino water balloons and rubber balls for the training. They continued their journey on their bike and finally reached Flannery City at night after traveling for almost a week. "Ugh, another city near the coast," mumbled Misty. "True, we have been near the coast since we left Cerulean City, which is more than a month." Asterisk. Lavender Town. Night. The entire town was enveloped in a mysterious fog that occurred frequently, but today for some reason everyone had their windows closed. "The fog feels a bit different for some reason," an old man said. "Did you sense something, Grandpa?" A small girl holding a cubone asked the old man. "Don't worry too much. Just ask Hypno to keep an eye for tonight. I will do it after I feed all the Pokémon." A bit far from the houses, the Pokémon Tower was enveloped in a purple fog. At the lowest chamber of the tower, which no human has ever reached, a small black figure was staring at something. In front of him was a small stone statue of the mythical Pokémon Mew. "So, you are still around, guarding the seal of my companions," Black tendrils emerged from his body and stabbed into the statue, but it didn't even put a scratch. Slowly purple liquid started to emerge from the black tendrils and cover the figure. Crack! The figure cracked in multiple places and burst into pieces the next second. As soon as the statue was destroyed, a door appeared in front of him out of thin air but had a lock on it. I will make all the preparation before Lord comes back. The black figure touched the lock but felt a terrifying repulsive force making him slam into the wall on the opposite side of the floor. Tisk, seems like my current power is not enough to break the seal alone. Hehe, but I don't have to worry. General Ctadius and General Incubus will soon wake up and restart the battle. But this time, we will take back what is ours, hehehe. The figure sank into the shadows and disappeared. An hour after the black figure left, a small pink Pokemon entered the chamber. Sigh. The inevitable is restarting. I can't make the seals I once made. Unfortunately, we don't have the power we once had. But this is not the end, my belief in destiny will never shake. A hero will come soon who is blessed with that power and put an end to the inevitable calamity. Chapter 60, Meeting an Old Acquaintance. The Flannery city was not as large as the major cities like Cerulean or Pewter, but not so small either. Just like the previous cities, this city had a theme which was red color. Aoki and Misty set out to explore the city after booking a hotel. It's my first time seeing so many tall buildings going through construction at the same time, said Misty as she clicked some photos. Give it another 3 to 4 years, this city will become a major city of Kanto, said Aoki as he looked at the city map. Everywhere his eyes went he could see tall buildings and constructions going on. They visited the coast, which has started to get busier than usual. As the Vermilion port was still being repaired after the Gyarados incident, a lot of ships had to dock here. Where should we go? Asked Misty as she began looking at the map Aoki was holding. Aoki pointed to the location of a cafe and said, it says that this palace serves the best coffee in the entire city, let's go there. On the way to the cafe, they saw a large number of people from the Joy family with their signature pink hair and an almost similar face. Let's go to the academy next, the thing for which the city is famous, Aoki suggested. The Medical Academy of Flannery City was the largest and best academy in all the regions for people aspiring to be a doctor. Aoki had Misty have to get themselves registered for entering the area. They were not allowed to roam around freely as there was a guide with them. The academy looked like a city of its own with every kind of facility available. The buildings looked like something out of the fables based on their size and appearance. Is this really an academy? Isn't that too extravagant? Exclaimed Misty. The fees of the institute should be extraordinary too, Aoki said. The student mostly comprised rich families like Jenny and Joy with fair shares of people from other regions. The percentage of male student being very low was not a surprise to Aoki. The academy took almost the entire day, so they didn't do anything in the evening and decided to visit the other places the next day. Like Vermilion City, this place also had a Pokemon fan club building along with a battle club. Aoki had decided to participate in the battle club later on, as who can say no to some extra cash? The battle club was more like a gambling system where people put their bets on a match. If the trainer wins, 15% of the bet won goes to him. One thing good about the battle club is that a trainer doesn't need to reveal his ID to participate and create an ID with any name. After looking at some more details, Aoki and Misty entered the famous cafe called Chansey Cafe, which the Joy family runs. The cafe was full of people, with Chansey acting as a waitress wearing a maid dress. After looking for a minute they found an empty spot. As they took their seat they were surprised to see a familiar face slurping noodles. She was Jill, the girl Misty and Aoki fought in the Junior Cup a few months ago. Jill? Misty asked the blue-haired girl who looked towards the source of the voice. Misty and Aoki. Pleasant meeting you here. It's been a while. How have you been? Aoki asked. I am doing good, she said by showing her badge collection, which had 5 badges including the Cascade and Boulder badges. I have become a lot stronger and wouldn't lose to you anymore, she said with a smug face, making Aoki and Misty chuckle. Both of them showed their badge case, although had fewer badges than Jill, but they had 3 alliance badges. You two won against that cruel monster, she exclaimed, seeing the Thunder badge as she remembers how her Pokemons got thrashed by the reissue of LT. Surge. So are you here for the gym battle? Asked Misty. This is my hometown. I am here to celebrate my 18th birthday with my family and boyfriend. Ah, here he comes. Aoki, your birthday is in a few days, right? Misty asked. Yes, Aoki answered. Jill looked towards the entrance and waved at a pink-haired guy. Alex here. Based on his facial features, he was someone from the Joy family around the age of 21. Alex gained a lot of attention as soon as he entered the cafe. Aoki isn't that? Yes, he is the winner of last time's Indigo conference. Alex Joy. Jill happily introduced Alex to Aoki and Misty. Misty asked how did both of them meet, to which Jill said that both of them were childhood friends and grew up in the same neighborhood. From their initial talk, Aoki figured that Alex too had an easygoing but a bit arrogant guy. Alex's mother owned the unofficial gym in this town which Alex wanted to inherit after becoming a good trainer. It was very rare for a boy to be born in the Joy family, so he was given a lot of resources to cultivate his Pokemon, with which he fulfilled their expectation by becoming the league winner last year. After he became the league winner, his gym became famous along with the developed teaching institute. This city went through massive development. Why didn't you challenge the Elite Four? Asked Aoki. My Pokemon are strong but not strong enough to stand up to the Elite Four, said Alex with a disappointed face. Since I had once beaten the Pokemon League, I am free to challenge the Elite Four anytime. Elite Four and the champion are hailed as the official strongest trainers in a region. Only a person who wins the league competition is given the qualification to challenge the Elite Four, who are Ice Specialty Lorelei, Fighting Type Specialist Bruno, Poison Type Specialist Koga and finally Ghost Type Specialist Agatha. The seat of the champion was empty for years before a few years ago Lance took the throne of the champion, defeating all the Elite Four. In case the seat of the champion is empty, the final Elite Four have the right to act as the champion like Agatha did before Dragon Master Lance came into the picture. That reminds me, why don't you fight Aoki for your opening ceremony, Alex? Suggested Jill. Are you sure? I had planned to do that with you, said Alex. Yes, I am sure. I will be staying here for a month so we can battle as much as we want. I already have 5 badges and it should not take to collect 3 more. To participate in the Kanto Pokemon League, a person must have at least 8 badges, of which 5 must be from the official gyms. The total number of gyms in the Kanto region is around 16 to 18, so getting 4 unofficial badges is not that difficult, but the difficulty lies in official gym badges as they battle the challenger according to the number of badges they have. If Aoki had challenged Brock after getting 1 or more official badges, he would have used a team of master-level Pokemons. The same was with Misty's father. Aoki and Misty were lucky that Surge didn't use his full master-level team as they were busy with the power plant. Aoki was sure that if Surge brought out his elite Pokemon, the entire match would have ended in a few minutes. Now that he has 3 official badges, gym leaders are going to use their strongest lineups against him. After having a short discussion, Jill dragged Misty to show the town while Alex and Aoki walked at a slow pace discussing various things. From Alex, he got to know that due to him being from the Joy family there were some questions raised when he and Jill got into a relationship, as he was required to pass on his gene to increase the chances of male members being born. Therefore he must marry someone from the Joy family. In this world, polygamy was very common, especially in renowned families like Joy and Jenny. Even incest is legal. Alex was relieved to know that Jill was fine with him having more than one partner, as he didn't want to leave Jill. Alex had done a medical course too, so he knew a lot about medicines and the health of both Pokemon and humans. The more Aoki talked with him, the more he understood. Alex maintained a noble outwardly appearance with an arrogant attitude, but not too much to make him dislikable. Having arrogance is common for someone who won the Pokemon League and became an official gym leader. In tomorrow's battle, can I fight against your original team for the gym battle? It will make your gym inauguration more flashy, asked Aoki. My original team? You sure are confident for someone who started his journey a few months ago. You never know, I might surprise you. Sure then, if you are that confident. Let's make it 3 on the. Don't worry, even if you lose I will fight you with my gym Pokemon the second time.
Thanks for listening.